And now, the main event, where tonight's entertainment is the review of entertainment. We like movies, we like television, and we like overthinking it. Introducing the podcast of critics.
Gentlemen, and also ladies, because this is an inclusive environment.
Just the one.
Start your engines for the next episode of the podcast of critics. Welcome. I'm Garrett.
I'm Ashley. A little shell-shocked.
We are starting off on fire today for the last of the episodes in our current series in our
Disney Channel Original Summer.
Nice, you did it this time.
I did.
That's awesome.
You were so sad that you didn't get to do it.
I was a little sad I didn't get to do it.
You should do it.
I'll do it at the end. We'll come back to it.
Okay.
I'm curious. Yours was very high pitched, so I am curious to see how that's going to sound when I throw the effects on there. So either you're welcome, listeners, or sorry. But we're back. We're back with the last of these in our trilogy. This is our first entry, also, of the Disney Channel Original Summer. I believe it is my hope, my dream, perhaps my fear, that we will come back to this.
To what? Disney Channel Original Summer?
Yes, that this will be a recurring series. Maybe we do it, maybe not every summer, but every other summer or so. We'll come back because we got a lot of Disney Channel movies we haven't done this time around. We only did 3. Mm-hmm. So we'll come back, I think, in the future. Obviously, hit up the High School Musicals, hit up the Luck of the Irish.
You had to hit up the Cheetah Girls.
Cheetah Girls. Johnny Tsunami is the one you really liked.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned that one, didn't you?
I did mention it. I don't recall watching it.
Okay. You didn't watch this one either.
No, I didn't. Again, we didn't have cable. We had Sky Angel.
That sounds like an evil AI.
It was
Sky Angel.
It was a little bit. It was a Christian-based dish.
Oh.
Shoot off.
Well, let's talk about our origins with this one. So this is the one that I picked our first episode in the series, which was Now You See It. Mm-hmm. You picked the second one, which is Windy Woo. We kind of defaulted and agreed on, and it sounds more or less like I kind of picked this one by default, I guess, since you didn't really know it.
Well, it had been mentioned to me by a few folks that this would be a good one to add.
The community.
Were soliciting that we were doing Disney Channel Original Summer.
Mm-hmm. To our friends and maybe future members of the cast of critics.
Perhaps. And so I was asking around. I said, what do you think we should do, And so this one came up quite a bit as something that was very nostalgic for folks.
I didn't remember it super well. I remember liking it. I think I've said because we both watched this ahead of time too. We just watch it together now.
Right.
But we both also kind of took a weekend beforehand to watch in advance and kind of refamiliarize myself in my case. And I was kind of ambivalent coming into it because...
Why is that?
Well, Now You See It, I really liked. That was one that I had kind of forgotten about until when we were looking over the ones we wanted to do. I was like, oh yeah, that one. I'll do that one. Like I was kind of waffling on which one I wanted to do. And when I remembered that one, I was like, oh, Now You See It, yes. Windy Woo, you were pretty dead set on.
I was set on it.
Yeah. And this one, I was like, this last one, I was really waffling on. I was like, I don't know. And I defaulted to it, but I didn't remember it super well. And also, it's not like a Cheetah Girls. It's not like a High School Musical. Like it's one that people kind of remember, but they don't remember super. I don't know how beloved it is. Like Windy Woo, I think is still pretty beloved to this day.
Yeah.
We got a pretty good response from our friends on that episode. So that one I felt pretty good about putting out. This one I was like, this is kind of a weird one to end on.
And yet it feels so fitting right now.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is I came into watching this by myself and with you now, I'm like, this is actually kind of maybe not like subjectively the best one or like the favorite. Like obviously I still really like Now You See It. You probably still really like Windy Woo. But objectively speaking, this one's kind of the best.
I think because this one got its roots in Shakespeare. That it's got a classic storyline to a certain extent. They've certainly tweaked it to their ends, but
yeah, it doesn't have a whole lot to do with the Shakespeare that's based on, which we may be coming back to in a future series coming soon. A little Shakespeare
true.
influence. But we'll just tease that out for now.
As we've talked about it with all of these so far, baby's first movie or adolescent's
first movie. Yeah.
Because that was weird to say. Sorry.
Yeah.
This gives you like a... Because this was in 2001.
Yes.
So first of all...
So it's older than the other two we just did.
Older. So we went kind of sequentially with the last two. We're jumping back.
Yeah.
2001. Important to note, the housing market had not crashed. Purely because their house was ridiculous, man.
The only thing to crash around this time was...
Andrew.
Oh, well, I was going to say the Twin Towers. But...
Cut that out, please.
I mean,
Jesus.
It's been long enough.
No.
Anyway.
This came out in February of 2001. So
Okay.
We hadn't talked.
Oh, so not even before.
Pre that too.
Wow. That's crazy.
Oh, my word. So Friends is still running at this point.
That's your metric, yeah.
That's my metric for the 90s, early 2000s. A lot of these folks that we have in this cast, which
I know the mom is the mom from Dawson's Creek.
She is the mom
Is
from Dawson's Creek.
kind of the only one that seemed pretty recognizable.
Many of our parents of the kids who are watching this may know her as Miss Florida USA and then the third runner-up of Miss USA in 1975.
Oh.
I was not alive
she
then.
was like a
You were not
dame
alive
back then.
but
Yeah.
she was she is
Okay.
she is it.
Wow.
Which that's not sarcastic at all.
No, 70s hot girl.
Yes.
Okay. She's a good mom actor too. Like in this, I don't know anything much about Dawson's Creek. I know it was like the teen show of like the 90s.
Yeah, I don't know anything about it either.
But I can see why she was cast in this. If I'm assuming she played a mom for like several seasons and probably did a pretty good job at it.
Yes. So she's very reminiscent of all of like the Disney Channel moms at this time. Mm-hmm. You have a little bit of like the Mary-Kate and Ashley moms.
You know who she actually reminds me of quite a bit now that you're saying that is, did you ever watch Home Improvement with Tim Allen? She reminds me of the mom in that.
Oh, yeah?
Jill.
Yeah.
I loved that. I loved Home Improvement's a weird show, but I always liked the mom in that because she kind of reminds me of my mom because like my mom's a boy mom, for better or worse. She just got my brother and I, and so that same thing with this mom where it's like she this clearly raising two boys like and a girl, but is definitely like exists in a masculine space, which is a big part of this movie.
Right. So we've got mom. Dad is Timothy Carhart.
Of Carhart?
I don't think so. It did not mention. But he is a Broadway actor.
Oh.
He was part of the Broadway revamp of A Streetcar Named Desire, which you may know from
I
a
do
while
know.
back.
Yep. Great movie,
And then,
great play.
He was starred in the CBS show Island Sun that ran for a couple years. Recurring roles in CSI 24. Also had a role in Ghostbusters, the 1984 one.
Okay. I'll have to go back.
And then the twins, Trevor O'Brien, which is the boy who gives us our main character's big break.
Yes.
He was most notably, he's been in he's guest starred in many different like TV shows and such. His most notable role would have been Gridiron Gang outside of.
That sounds familiar.
Gridiron Gang is the football movie with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Not The Game Plan.
Not
with the little girl from Corey in the House.
Gridiron, I think, is the one where they were in prison.
Is that what it's called? The Game Plan? Am I
That's
misremembering?
the Adam Sandler one. Fuck.
No. I swear it's called The Game Plan.
Oh yes.
The one where he has
Madison Pettis.
He has a daughter. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're thinking of The Longest Yard as the Adam Sandler one.
Yes.
Which is based on a 70s comedy. It's a remake of a 70s comedy too.
Right. Gridiron Gang is similar to The Longest
We're
Yard.
3 movies away from the one you were talking about.
This is so convoluted. Anyways, I thought I knew what I was talking about. I didn't. And then we also have the other twin, who is our main star.
Our main girl, yeah.
Alana Austin. She is most notably Abby Logan in Ink. I don't know what that was.
Nope.
And then Simple Twist of Fate, a movie with Steve Martin. She was the child that Steve Martin adopted named Matilda. Of course, cannot forget our
youngest.
Our real star of the show, Scott Terra playing Jason.
He seemed kind of familiar.
Yes, he is. I'm going to tell you why he's
Okay.
specifically familiar to familiar to you.
Okay.
He was Mike Parker in Eight-Legged Freaks. And who's your favorite Marvel character?
Daredevil?
Mm-hmm. He was young Matt Murdock.
In the most recent?
No.
Oh, in the original?
In the original.
In the Ben
movie.
Affleck one?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. That does sound kind of familiar.
Yes.
I can see him being a good young Matt Murdock.
Yes.
Wow. Anyway.
So that's our family.
And they're all pretty good.
Yeah, and unlike Wendy Wu, so none of them really have any like huge breakout things. This is
Well, and I think that's the other thing.
not saying this is the culmination of their careers, but this is also not like
Not a low point or anything either.
No.
Yeah, it's just kind of they're all kind of middling, which isn't to say that's bad. Like they did a good performance in here. But that is the other unique thing about this one, kind of going backwards from like the Wendy Wu Now You See It period, where like that was kind of like our peak Disney period, I think, growing up. Is that's
when
when
you
you
have
had
those who have they both have stars in them
Yeah,
who had bigger things.
They pulled from their like sitcoms, and it was like Ali Mashalka, you're in Phil of Future, you're going to do this one. Brenda Song, you're in Sweet Life, you're going to do this one. And they had like cowbells with Ali Mashalka too. They had all these other ones that like they just use whoever they happen to be big at the time,
Right.
and would put them in like an original movie. So none of these people were like on a Disney show or anything at the time.
But this also predates really the Disney Channel hardcore sitcoms, I think.
True. Yeah, this is like pre That's So Raven and that whole boom.
Yes.
Like, I'm sure they had a few, but yeah, this is pre our time. But it ran in like reruns for me is how I remember this one. It was one that they would just put on a lot.
Well, because it's fun.
It's very fun.
You've got like the classic racing and the classic storyline.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the storyline. And we mentioned kind of at the top the Shakespeare influence. So this is loosely, very loosely based on Twelfth Night.
Right.
Which is TLDR, not a Shakespeare play I'm super familiar with, but as I understand it, is one of the better comedies. It is one of his, like, at the minimum, like, top 5 funniest Shakespeare plays, probably. TLDR, like, girl disguises herself as her brother, who she thinks is dead, to try and like influence the love life of this duke who is in love with another girl. Crazy funny, kind of gay love triangle happens, and all's well that ends well. Basically, everyone's alive. Everyone ends up with who they're supposed to end up with in the end. Classic Shakespeare shenanigans ensue. So this one is very similar. Just as gay and just as funny. It's pretty funny.
It's very gay.
Yeah. So this is.
It's very gay.
And that was another reason I wanted to come into this one is like similar with Wendy Wu, kind of having a little like a cultural resonance to it. Is this one I thought would be a fun one to watch in our postmodern look at like sexuality and gender and all those things. And boy, was it. Boy, is it interesting.
Woo. It's we'll just get right into it.
Sure.
So plot, production, performance, that is the game or the I don't know.
That's the race.
That is the MO around here. Around these parts. First of all, we open with some pretty solid rock music.
Yeah, the soundtrack in this,
like a decent riff.
Yeah, it's a lot of like punk stuff. I'll talk about this, and I'll try not to bring it up too much. But you weren't a big video game person?
No.
So I wasn't. That was the most like adequate. No.
You know that very well.
It's for the audience, for the viewer.
Oh, that's true.
For the listener. But
yeah.
But I am now. But the first video game my brother and I ever got, we got a PS2 in like 2000 whatever the hell. And the only game we had for it to start with was ATV Off-Road Fury 2, which this is a deep cut. I hope some listeners out there know what I'm talking about with this game because it is a dope game. It's a racing.
Is it just four-wheelers?
Yeah, it's just four-wheelers. It's a racing game. That's all
right.
there is to it. You customize your little rider with different whatever.
So Mario Kart, but not.
Yeah, I've never been into Mario Kart because it's too cute. Because I was raised on this shit. This was real bikes.
Oh my god.
But its soundtrack is very similar to this, where it's this like obscure like punk grunge stuff, and it's like I don't love any of the songs in there, but they're like a core part of my DNA still.
It gets you hype.
Yeah, because I'm just racing around doing fucking circles to this weird punk music, with my brother and stuff.
The
on
riffs.
the split screen, and so this whole movie brought me back to like that game and just like it's so
it's nostalgic for you.
Yeah, it had that pull for me that I didn't expect. So
Do you miss that era of your life?
I do, because like that was a simple game. You're just racing, compared to like all the
Life
like
was
deep.
much simpler then, I'm sure.
Like now I'm into like RPGs and shooters and whatever, and so that's simpler time. But anyway, the soundtrack of this reminds me of that a lot.
It is just your like 2000s punk rock type shit.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
It's
It
vibey.
sets the tone. Yeah,
It's very vibey. Open up with the riff, and we've got the splice of someone motocross racing solely, and then a cheer team at seemingly a competition to note this time period. Bring It On was also around this time period.
Yeah. This might have been before it, actually.
This was
not too
definitely
long before it.
This was definitely before it, but not by much. To see the difference in uniforms, because you've got like for this one, you have like
It's pretty conservative.
the very like varsity, like the very old school varsity sweaters, whereas in Bring It On, it's closer to what we see today.
Yeah.
In cheer competitions.
Also, bit of continuity for our listeners who do pay attention and listen to these full episodes. I wanted to mention it last episode. I'm mentioning it now at the end of our first Disney Channel episode. Now you see it. I took off to go watch Hellcats, starring Ali Mashaka and Ashley Tisdale, based on Ashley's recommendation here, which is a show.
Did you find that you liked Ashley Tisdale as a redhead?
She's a brunette in it.
Oh, my bad.
She's a brunette, but she looks great. Ali Mashaka looks great too. Like she's got these great curls and stuff. So they're cheerleaders in that show.
Yeah.
It only lasts a season. I'm like halfway through it or something. It's good. It's good stuff.
You're ridiculous.
I just wanted to, for the continuity of the show and as a little treat for those who do listen to all these long ass episodes and pay attention.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Yeah.
Anyway, so we spliced together those two. Very sets the theme very much for the time period. I think you've got the mom cheering there, and then you've got
the dad
presumably
coaching, yeah.
a father figure, but definitely the dad timing, watching, and then daughter comes home with the trophy.
Andrea. So we're introduced to Andrew and Andrea here. So Andrew is our boy, our motocross racing star, dad's little wonder child, and Andrea, the cheerleader, who I do like this. I'll say this. I like that she has a feminine hobby of cheerleading.
Where are you going with that?
Because I think it would be easy to make her like, I just want to be one of the boys. I think it would be easier to make her a full-blown pick-me.
That is true.
Where she just likes racing. I think it's more interesting that she actually does have just as much feminine edge to her as she does like interest in a boy, quote-unquote, boy hobby. So I think this is, which I also kind of shows the time period that she can't be fully into just she is still got a little girliness to her. But I think that's good.
It rounds her out. You're right. It does round her out. That's good. Okay. She comes in. Well, dad puts the line in the sand. We set up the premise right from the first 30 seconds. He says we're going for a full factory sponsorship from the factory known as...
I think it's Phil Rollins.
Phil Rollins, Motocross Sports, whatever.
They're getting a sponsorship.
They want the sponsorship for the national and to be able to go for the national title, because you need the sponsorship to be able to get all your gear and stuff. It makes life a whole lot easier.
Yeah, we later find out Dad's like quit his job to pursue this too, so it's pretty high stakes for the family.
And from the get, you get like a very singularly focused coach. Which is fine until we get to the next part. So let me get through this scene. Let me get through this scene.
All right.
Let me get through it. So then Andrea comes home. She jumps out of the Jeep, waving the trophy around. Brother comes zooming around the corner. He's on his last little leg. Dad had just told him that he can't let off the throttle until he passes this particular line in the sand that he's drawn with a stick. She happens to be standing right on the fucking line. And crash and burn.
Yeah.
Immediately, Dad is pissed at her for getting in the way.
Yeah.
Number one.
All right.
I have a lot of feelings about this one.
Okay.
Number one. Actually, I can't really get into them yet. I just want to note that happened.
There's going to be a number one.
There is going to be a number one. This is number one. Okay.
All right.
So he's intense. He's singularly focused and dismissive of everything else.
Yeah.
That is where we're at. Mom's like, where I have another son somewhere, right? You know,
yeah.
Mom is very funny, by the way.
Oh,
Mom
yeah.
is very sarcastic, great acting. Don't know if a lot of that is improv or not. Don't really care because she's delivering it well.
Yeah. We're introduced to Jason.
Jason.
Who's our little tinkerer youngest. Who's like, this is, I didn't notice this my first time, but he also has a little arc, I guess, where he's like rebuilding his engine or whatever. And he's trying to do it in record time.
He's got the kitchen timer in the garage with him.
This will come back around later. Mom interrupts him and is like, get in for dinner. And he's like, I almost made it. But he's funny.
He's funny. He comes out covered in grease, and she's like, don't sit on anything. And he goes, I'm not even that covered in grease. This is not as bad as it can get.
He's like the archetype of like the kitschy younger sibling, like the Michelle on Full House kind of. He has that kind of vibe to him, but it's not played particularly annoyingly. He still has a lovableness to him. Like, it's not aggravatingly cutesy.
I thought of him more as Dewey from Malcolm in the Middle.
Yeah, he does have a Dewey to him. You're right. You're right. That's a good comparison.
Not quite as like, he's funnier than Dewey. Like, Dewey didn't know he was funny. This kid knew he was funny.
Yeah.
So that's Jason. That's our little brother. He comes out. Everybody gets set for dinner.
Yep.
Washes up for dinner. Elbows off the table. The whole nine. And we say grace, which is important to note, I think, because this also predates like the 10 Commandments coming out of the Supreme Court and all that. So we, as a country, we were still in God we trust wholeheartedly.
Well, the evil also, we've mentioned too, this is before 9/11. This is also kind of before things get even crazier and more God-fearing and stuff. So
right.
I think it's interesting for a Disney Channel movie. I mean, yeah, the Disney Channel at this time, a little different maybe than the one we quite grew up with, but it is interesting that they do directly kind of reference a faith here in what you'd think is kind of a secular.
Well, we had faith in Wendy Wu. We had Buddhism.
That all came across relatively more mythologized than it did as
That's
true
fair.
religion. You
That's
know what
fair.
I mean?
Yeah.
Especially since there's ghosts and shit.
Ghosts and shit.
You know, Dad's an asshole here. He has a thing where he's like, or that's what it is. He loses his backstory here where he's telling Andrew to like, you need to be out racing all the time. Like, my dad would drag me in. Like, I'd be out all night, basically racing, you know, he would drag me in and stuff. So he has this backstory that like gets alluded to a couple more times where like he was a big racer growing up and stuff. And we later find out like his friends got hurt and stuff during this. And I'll put a pin in that for now because I want to come back to it towards the end.
Well, this gives us this is more of a classic Disney Channel kind of trope that we see come up
It's
several times.
This is very High School Musical too.
Specifically.
Troy Bolton's dad type
yes,
stuff. Yeah.
Where the parents are trying to live out their dead dreams through their children.
Yeah.
And so
it's not that deep, but it's there.
It's there.
Yeah.
It's there. It's not that deep, but it's there.
Mm.
Well, actually, you give me a minute. I'll overthink it.
You dig your hole.
I be digging.
Get it deep.
Andy talks about wanting to try it.
Well, she
talks about it at the dinner table that she wants to try it, and he's like, "No, it's too dangerous."
Yeah, I want to say he says something to her about it being too dangerous, but either way, it's a pretty, it just establishes the relationships.
Right, and
where
she's very interested in it. This is not just so this comes up later too. Mm-hmm. She's still interested in it, even though she's doing her cheerleading things.
Yeah.
Cheer is done now. She just won the competition, or first in state or whatever. So she needs something else to do for the summer, basically.
Yeah.
And that's not.
Which this is that we used to talk about summer too, and her bit being like a school thing. This is the other thing that I didn't remember about this is that it is the stakes of it are for this like factory sponsorship and stuff like that. Like it's more adult stakes that like as a kid that's flying way over my head. Like I don't know what a factory sponsorship is. I don't know what it matters. So like in my memory as a kid, I'm like, oh, this was like a school thing, and like that's not it at all. It's a much more.
It's higher stakes for sure.
Yeah. Well, I feel like it is a bit over a kid's head, but which kind of shows this maybe is more for a more mature audience than what you'd think, I guess. But anyway,
Mom, basically tells everyone good night or whatever. The twins are talking about their day. you know. And
She's like, Dad and I are going out of town tomorrow, and they're like, oh, dope, we get to fucking like play on the track, hell yeah.
Yeah.
So we cut to them playing on the track, and or they try to. Jason like catches them and is like, oh, this is a bad idea, whatever. He's very quickly like just
Dad would
into
be
it.
pissed if he knew what you were doing. And they're racing to, as you do as a kid with siblings, their loser has to do the other one's chores for the next like week.
I like them a lot too. This is one of the things I wrote down is I like all the chemistry in this movie. All of the siblings especially, and the mom and stuff, because we just get the most screen time with them more so than the dad comes in and out. But the siblings and the mom, this feels like such a real family. They
very
all
supportive, very wholesome,
But
and still ragging on each other a little bit.
and not in an icky. I'm gonna go back to Full House. Not
Oh,
in an
God.
icky Full Housey kind of way where it's just super sappy and stuff. Like they still rag on each other in a way that's like it's got a little Disney Channelism to it, where it's a little like not hyper cringy or whatever. But but it's just it's I don't know. It's fine. It's good, and they all look.
It's normal.
It's normal. Very good way to put it. But so they're cast really well, where you could almost believe they're all actually family too. You know what I mean? Like they all got the same kind of look to them, which is important to the plot as it will turn out here.
Yeah, the nose is pretty consistent.
Yeah, but they race. And this is the first real kind of racing sequence we get with the two of them, which this is going to be my first big criticism. And I'll ask you, how do you feel about the racing in this movie?
I think it's fun.
Really?
I think it's what do you mean really?
I'm disappointed by it. It's a little hard to follow the way it's shot.
What do you mean?
We don't see, like, I would have liked some more aerial views of like the tracks so I could tell like, okay, how
Where
long
we
is
are
this
at?
track?
Oh, I
Where
see.
are we at?
I
Where is this turn coming? Because it's shot kind of in montage kind of form most of the time, and like every single race we get, there's not a whole lot to distinguish each race from each other.
Sure.
They kind of have it color coded where like, they're all wearing different colors and stuff. So you can kind of follow along and, he's number 12 or she's number 12. So you can kind of follow that bike most of the time. But it's kind of hard to, now there's some good little tracking shots of like, and there's some moments where like a lens flare or like the sun is like they're passing over the sun or whatever. And it's super cool. There's shots in here that look cool. But as a whole, I find the race is pretty hard to follow. Not super visually interesting. The music helps. There's some moments where like they'll kick dirt into the screen. That's really fun and like, and immersive in a way. But like as a whole, it's like a B grade for me. Like I just don't love the race. For being the main thing the movie's for, I don't love it.
I disagree.
Disagree harder.
All right, so I liked watching dirt track racing growing up. So I used to watch it on like TV and stuff. I felt that the aerial view didn't give me a good view of the jumps
Sure.
because like from the top it just looks like frickin' dirt.
Yeah.
The side views, you don't get to see the rhythm jumps as much. You don't get to see the slide pits and stuff.
There's some good like POV shots too in here. every now
Right.
and
So
then.
like there's those things, and then like it's hard to, from an aerial view, it's hard to watch them fly and see how much air they caught.
Sure.
And then also additionally to see like how they finessed the fly that they took. Mm-hmm. So for me, it was doing good things. I didn't necessarily need to see the track because to me, they're just going left.
Yeah. I guess, yeah. I'm like, it may purely be because like I recently watched the final race of Cars, Pixar's Cars, and that's a pretty good race. That's a
really good race.
It's a really good, like well composed, animatedly shot, however you would say it, race. Like you can follow the action
But
there.
that one's more dynamic because that track is flat. It's more dynamic to get an aerial view, whereas this one, if you do an aerial view, you're not seeing why. Like, picture it with me.
Okay.
You do an aerial view and you see him, like specifically that one dude that comes up.
I don't want to stay in the aerial view, but I at least want it just so I can
You
keep
just want an
track.
establishing shot.
Yeah, basically, I would have liked some more establishing shots to like.
That's fair, I guess.
To cut.
You can have the one.
Well, I would cut back to it every now and then, or cut back to a few, just so we can like, okay, that's where we are now. That's where we are now.
You want like
Okay, now
the
we're
Mario
here.
Kart beginning?
Yeah, just just
like
for it to
overview of the track.
Yeah,
before
just
you
to
start.
keep. Yeah, I don't know. That would have helped a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, but I doubt that there was actually a full track that they shot on.
And that's the thing is you can't even quite tell how long the track is and stuff. Like there's things like that where like I don't know how long has this race been going on for. If that's how long is the track, I don't know.
So the thing about this one too is that there's a lot, like with Wendy Wu, we knew a lot about like the kung fu,
The stunts and
then
whatever.
the stunts and things.
This
like
was
that.
directed
There's
by-
very little information about this one.
It was directed by a stunt guy who like did a lot of stunts for a lot of movies, and he also directed.
Steve Boyum,
Yeah, Steve Boyum. The things that stood out to me for him.
he did the Johnny Tsunamis.
Okay, yes, I remember reading that. But
He did some of Supernatural.
He's done episodes of Black Sails, the pirate show.
Oh,
which
you
I
like that one.
I did like that one. I watched that relatively recently, and he's also directed, I think, an episode of The Boys. Great show, one of my favorites on right now.
Yeah, it's on. Yep.
And the
that's correct.
spin-off Gen V as well.
Yes, yes.
So those are like the recent things that he's done. So he's still out there and he's making good stuff.
He did Rush Hour. He did a few other things.
Stunt work on it. You mean? Yeah.
No, he was director
Oh, really?
of the 2016 Rush Hour.
Okay. I was like, surely not the original.
No,
that would've
this is
been,
the
like,
Rush Hour
around-
TV series.
Okay, different.
That's what it was.
So they do this race. Let's get back to it. They do this race. Andrew blows out, breaks his or like scrapes his knee or something.
Well, no, they go around and they stop in the middle of it, basically. And he's like, why aren't you pushing harder? And she's like, these boots don't fit. Because she borrowed his boots, which are slightly too big for her.
Sure.
She can't shift. Shift gears.
Yeah.
Because you do that with the foot on the thing, on the pedal.
Yes. Thank you for explaining that.
Did you?
I didn't need to know, and I still don't know. I don't comprehend. Listen, the mechanics of this, beyond me. Go fast.
Go fast. All right.
But they go fast. They go fast. He blows out. He breaks his thing.
He blows through the fence.
Blows through the
mind
fence.
you.
It doesn't look like that bad, but I don't know. Who knows? At that speed, whatever.
He tweaks the hell out of his knee, basically.
They go to the hospital. Dad's pissed. He blames Andrea immediately.
Oh, yeah.
He's
Hundo OP.
Dad then is like, well, they're at the house, and I'm leaving. I'm going to Europe.
He's just casually flying to Europe to find a new rider.
He clearly has not told them. He comes down. He's like, all right, passport, whatever. And they're like, where are you going? And so Mom knows, but like he's informed none of them. So he's going to Europe because all the like good American riders were taken, which this is kind of crazy. I feel like you could have.
This is a national competition.
Okay.
That's the full factory sponsorship.
This is what I'm saying.
for
It's
the
like it's
national
over
title.
my head. I'm like, I thought it was just a school race. I'm still kid brain about it, where I'm like,
Oh,
the
no.
stakes of it are like beyond my understanding. But
This is where Andi lobbies Andi the girl. Because there's Andi the boy and Andi the girl.
yeah,
Andi the girl lobbies to be the family rider. She's like, a Carson name should be on a Carson bike. This is before he leaves for Europe. But like as he's like telling them he's leaving for Europe, and she's just like, why, I can ride. And he's like, no, it's too dangerous. And he tells her to focus. Here's where my points come in.
number 2. Okay.
He says, focus on 15-year-old girl things and stop worrying about and don't get anywhere near anything with a motor and 2 wheels. And yet, okay, you want her to focus on these 15-year-old girl things, but you didn't give 2 shits when she came home with the first place trophy for the fucking cheerleading competition earlier yesterday.
Yeah, didn't even acknowledge it.
You didn't even acknowledge
The
that she got
15-year-old
it.
girl things. Yeah.
So fuck you, man. Like, what do you want?
He gets a redemption arc. I don't know how well earned it is because like early in the movie, he is really hitting the hammer on this.
Hard ass.
Yeah. So I mean, she's insistent she can do this.
He leaves anyways.
So the next morning, she gets her. There's so many setups in this. Now that I'm thinking about it,
She gets her
Yeah.
gear on.
No. She gets her ticket. She gets her NSYNC
that's
ticket in the mail to again date this back. It's 2001. So what is the hottest item to a 15-year-old girl can get?
In sync. It's gonna kill the world tour.
So she gets these tickets. She's super hype about it. Mom has to make a call to Dad.
She's 5th row back from the stage.
Yeah, damn good tickets
Yeah.
for a dad who doesn't have a job. I don't know how they afford this. They also get like instructions for the race, which is like
It's this weekend.
or it's this weekend, and like they have to place in those in order to even compete for the actual cup or whatever.
Yeah, you have to go to this first set.
Yeah.
Or you're not eligible for anything.
So mom tries to call dad, which again, going back, this is very dated. This whole scene is actually very dated. Mom tries to call dad, cannot get in touch with him because this is 2001 and cell phones are a luxury. So she can't get in touch with the hotel because he's already left. So he's just in the wind somewhere. So they can't get in contact with him to tell him that, like, we need a racer.
And she has an iconic line here. She's like, can't you get him like a telegram or FedEx? What?
Yeah, no, can't even do that. The twins, again, are like, Andrea's again, like, I can do it. Like, I'm going to go do it. The dude, her brother is like, they're going to eat you up, dude. Like, these guys are going to eat you up.
He goes, guys would do anything to beat you.
Beat a chick. And she's like,
yeah, but they'd have to keep up with me first.
Yeah. So she goes off to race against these 30-year-old men. You
yeah,
noticed.
She does a soft launch of her racing with these boys. And it seems like they're just like local competitors
Just
as
local
well.
dudes, yeah. She gets pretty blown out by them as well.
And it's really just her hair flying in the wind that gives her away.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and they do make fun of her because she's a chick and whatever.
They give her some serious road rash on her arm.
I think she falls off and stuff. Yeah.
And so she comes back home.
But I like this. I like that the movie actually has a journey for her where she does get better. She does have to learn. I do feel like even if this was made in like Wendy Wu times in like 2006 or so, or even later, she would be like instantly better, more competent. I feel like they would want to emphasize the girl powerness of it more by making it so that so that she is like, oh, she's actually really like, she would beat those guys.
But that's part of the 12th Night arc, is that she has to like learn how to be him.
I like that. I like that a lot, that she has to earn it. I think that adds a lot to it.
Yeah, thanks Shakespeare for that.
Mm-hmm. We thank Shakespeare for a lot of things, a lot of words even.
And for the gay boys.
Yeah. But she goes back, and Andrew gives her the idea of, like, I think he says, again, just kind of emphasizes, she's like, you mean they wouldn't, pick on me like that on the track if I were a dude? And he's like, unfortunately.
He's like, it's literally just your hair. If they couldn't see your hair, they wouldn't know that you were a girl.
Yeah, which gives her the idea. So then we get to the great comedy scene of this whole thing. Where Andrew, Mom, and Jason go to, like, they have parts that they're going to pick up from, like, the parts store for the bikes and stuff. That we meet Jimmy.
And they're like, where is she? And twin brother is like, we need to figure out a name for him other than his actual name.
Andrew. It's his name. What are you talking about?
I don't know. I don't want to refer to him as Andrew. It's weird.
How's that weird?
Because we call him Andi a bunch, but we also call her Andi. It's very confusing.
She's Andrea. He's Andrew.
It's very confusing. And then if I say the brother, it could be Jason. So, anyways, twin.
Yeah.
There we go. Twin.
Okay.
Mom asked twin. She's like, "Where's Andrea?" And he goes, "I think she went to the mall with her friend." So they go up to the parts store. He's like, "But I just got a call from Jimmy over at the parts store, so we need to go pick up these parts." She's like, "All right, well, I gotta go to town anyways, so get Jason. Let's go."
Mm-hmm. Well, we cut to her in the parts store, now fully in disguise as
wearing the same hoodie as her brother, incidentally, which is a Carson family racing hoodie.
I didn't spot it at first that it is a branded hoodie that they probably all own. But she's there now fully disguised. She's got her sunglasses and she's
the backwards ball cap.
And like the tone of this is the most, I call it the most Disney Channel-ish scene in it, where it's the rest of it is pretty heartfelt and played pretty straight, and it's not the cross-dressing of it isn't like played for laughs so much as it is for drama. This one, it's played for laughs. This one, it's like we've got this like strung out guy tending the thing, Jimmy, who's like,
parts store.
"Yo, man, what's going on, brother?"
Gnarly.
Bro, I just got off the phone with you.
He's like, "What'd you do? Teleport
here? Did you teleport over here, dude?" And he's like, "Oh, the parts. Yeah, right." So she's also
heard you blew out the other day.
Did you blow out your gnarly crash, bro? But not enough to keep you off the bike.
And nah, dude.
I'm all over it. So she's fully in character as just like totally, bro, and which is not her brother at all.
No.
The funny thing is that like this is not how Andrew acts at all. Like Andrew's a normal guy. But like
Andrew's just
Andrea
a guy.
perceives Guy as like, "Oh, I got it, dude. No worries." So
Yeah. But don't y'all talk that way? Like when y'all talk to each other? Like when you talk to normal people, you're fine. But when y'all talk to each other, don't y'all like start going, nah, dude?
You do. There's a bit of like, nah. No, yeah, you just talk like you're in the Budweiser commercial from 2001 or whatever it is. Like,
Help.
What's up? It's that. Yeah.
Yeah. What up, brother?
So Jimmy is like, they do this like back and forth thing where like she disappears for a second. The fam comes in and he's like, now you're on crutches, bro? What the heck? And
This poor dude in his glasses, he has no faith.
yeah, Andrew has a bit. He's like, oh, you've been like
You've been cleaning out the air filters again with the windows
pulled up.
closed.
He's like, no, yeah,
Yeah.
maybe I have been doing that.
Yeah,
Oh, shit.
not
Anyway,
that.
I got your parts here and your boots. And he's like, we didn't ask for boots. So anyways, this whole funny, this is very Shakespearean. This is actually incredibly Shakespearean.
Okay, but you remember what the boots are for, right?
Because the ones don't fit her.
Yeah.
Andrews don't fit her. So we get a little bit of a payoff here.
Yeah.
You pay attention to tiny ass fucking things.
This is why I always know things, though.
Crazy. But so this goes back and forth for a minute. They don't get the boots because like obviously that's $300 more than the parts that they ordered. Jason goes to
They're Fox racing boots, which was a big thing back
this
then.
got there's a lot of branding in this one.
Well, I guess it's still kind of a big thing. I mean,
They've got like Hurley in here. They've got Fox Racing. They've got
they
a
got
ton of
Vans
brands.
shows up too.
Shit ton of
Suzuki for sure.
what do you call it? Product placement.
Oh, yeah.
In this one,
Oh, yeah.
all over the place. Yeah. But anyways, Andrew goes to the change. Great line here where he like knocks on the changing room, and Andrea inside is like, "I'm changing, bro." And he opens it up. He's like, "I think changing's a bit of an understatement."
The sarcasm in this family is unmatched.
It's
Unmatched.
great. Again, just really funny chemistry here, man. Like they just feel like siblings.
Yeah.
You know, they just have that vibe. So we get the reveal that she's like cut her hair and stuff and
Right.
and doesn't really look that much like him, but looks
She still
androgynous
has
enough.
She still has her like big doe eyes and stuff. Mm-hmm. But like, So then Jason is like, or Jimmy is mind fucked by them like switching spots, and
Yeah.
then you get this really cool shot of the twins talking in the mirror. Jason's kind of standing in front of.
Mom comes back.
Mom starts to look at a shirt and is like looking in the mirror, and then is like, wait a minute, there's two of you.
Yeah. And it's like a continuous shot where like they're in the mirror for one of it. It kind of pans over to the mom. It pans back to the mirror, and Andrea's gone. Mm-hmm. So it's some fun little, just subtle cinematography here that they're doing. That's actually pretty good stuff, and also visually funny. This whole scene is pretty good. Again, it's very Shakespearean. It's very like comical misunderstandings, characters entering and exiting a scene. What you can see it on stage. You can see the 12th. I'm sure there's probably is a scene in 12th Night that is very similar to this. I imagine.
Right.
Or in any other Shakespeare play, I'm sure. So great scene. Really captures the vibe of that. Love it.
Yes. Oh, mind you, while the twins are talking to each other, Jason is present, and
So he's clued in.
we tell Jason to shut the fuck up. Don't tell mom.
Yeah, don't tell mom.
And he's like, I don't know why y'all keep looking at me when you say this shit. and she just gives him the eye. We get back home. Andrea, very smartly, I think.
Yeah.
This is where I'm like, that's pretty clever. She comes out in a bathrobe and a towel over her head,
Right.
so you can't see her hair.
Mm-hmm.
And is talking to mom, and her mom's like, well, where have you been all day? And she's like, oh, I was just at the mall. She's like, oh, did you buy anything? And she's like, yes, some clothes. And the twins, or the twin says, yeah, she's going for a whole new look or something like that.
Yeah.
Little brother goes,
Jason's like, you'd hardly recognize
you'd
her.
hardly,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he gets hit. He
Yeah.
gets hit by twin.
Mm-hmm.
And so mom is just like, huh, okay. And she lets it drop, right? She asks, she's like, is anything going on? And
Yeah.
they're like, no, not at all. And she's
I'll find out about it eventually.
She's like, I will find out. And they're like, no, not at all.
So she does. We find Jason in the garage working on his motor. He gets interrupted again by mom, who just stares at him. Which,
she says nothing to him.
yeah, and this is funny. This is good. I like this a lot, and this will come back in a moment. There's not dialogue in this movie there's moments in this that are just like quiet and implied like that that I really like. Like I talked about last episode with the Wendy Wu where
grandmother has
that line that like I don't think she needed that line to communicate what the scene was communicating.
Yeah.
This one actually does that at times, and I'll talk about it again in a second here. So she gets it out of Jason, presumably. We cut to Jimmy's back. So hey man,
first thing in the morning, I got these boots.
Hey man, I got these boots you said you didn't need or do need. Here you go. So he pulls up. He's got like.
She's like, do you have your driving glasses?
This is where I learned about driving glasses and night glasses. I did not know this was a thing until this movie. I was like, what? People need. Oh wow.
So it's presumably early in the next morning.
It's it's early morning. Jimmy's there to like pick her up. Mom comes out and is like, pretty sure the mall doesn't open till 10. You know. She's like, I don't know where Andrew's going.
The sun is not up.
Yeah, I don't think you'll be taking her anywhere or him anywhere, Jimmy or whatever. And he's like, well, better get your motorcycle down from my truck. I got other places to go if I'm not going with you. And so, unfortunately, this is the last we see of this character, Jimmy.
He was great for the 2 seconds he was on screen.
I was hoping he'd come back around in the end. It's
He's
like
fantastic,
he'd be in
man.
the garage working with them as part of, he'd be hired or something like that.
No.
You know?
He's absolutely used again for sure.
Yeah, he makes a good. He's funny. Mom lays into Andrea. Jason is present in the kitchen here, and she's like, you know, basically just.
Is this guilt? Are you wanting? Is this actually something you want to do, or are you doing this out of guilt?
Because first we get Jason. She chews Andrea out. Andrea like leaves away, and
that's true.
Jason's like, she broke me. I'm sorry, whatever. And then Jason has a cute little.
She should work for the CIA.
Yeah. And Jason's like, you know, like we're learning about women's rights. This is also a little odd.
In school, they were teaching us about women's rights, and they said that women can do anything that guys can do.
Yeah, like they can have any job they want now, and how much progress we've made. Which, just hold on, kid. But what a
they
time.
took away those rights.
Yeah, buddy. Oof, I don't know, man. But anyway, so.
You get sad music start to play as soon as,
it's a little soap opera-y.
and Mom's in the kitchen just kind of staring out the window, and she's like, Geneva talking to herself.
Just fold your laundry.
Just
think about something else. Which I you could take that line out here, but I do. But she seems like the kind of mom that could talk to herself. So, you know, I don't know. I'm so on it. Now I'm talking to myself.
Let people talk to themselves.
No, you're right. That's what I'm saying. Is like I buy this more than Sai Chen's line. I buy this more than you will be a great warrior. Like this tracks to me as more of like I see why they left this line in. You don't need it, but this feels more in character. I'll say.
Well, because she rags on all of them about how she knows everything. So of course she would consult with herself, the expert.
Yeah. But I like so she gets some character stuff here, and then she goes into the garage and is like, "Why do you want to do this?
Is it out of guilt, or is this something that you actually want to do?" Mm-hmm. And Andi basically says, "Which one will get me there?"
Yeah.
Which answer do you want?
Yeah.
Both, honestly. Mm-hmm. She steps up, and they get in the Carson Racing branded vehicle.
But I like this
truck.
I like. This scene could have stretched on longer.
Mom and daughter road trip. Yes.
This could have been a long drawn out. It's like, I just want to prove myself. I just want to make Dad proud. Whatever. You know what I mean? You could have thrown a ton of lines in. This could have been a long drawn out, like Troy Bolton and his dad back and forth kind of conversation.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Instead, it's like a quick, like 3-4 lines between the mom where they just kind of like, why do you want to do this? Just, you know, and she knows.
Yeah.
And the acting is good. So the subtlety of this goes a long way for me.
Yes.
And then we do cut to them on the way to the thing, and Mom and Andrea is like, why are you doing this? And Mom's like, you think I'd let you take the glory for yourself?
You know me better than that.
Which is such a mom thing. You know what I mean? Like that is, she's saying like, because I love you. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? But
absolutely.
she's saying it in a way that her character would communicate that. Which again, like that would be easy.
It's not overly sappy.
Yes, it would be so easy to write it as sappy. Instead, it's written as like a snarky, characterized way that like builds on the dynamic of their relationship and just the type of characters they are. And that's what I'm saying when this one just feels the most like a real movie to me.
Right.
It's not written to be the super kitschy, kind of tongue-in-cheek, like, it's just a Disney Channel movie
Yeah,
of way that these other ones are. Like, it just has a maturity to it that I really respect. On that note,
We are hitting the halfway point.
We're a minute in. So, but when we get back, we'll pick up into the actual races beginning.
That you don't like because you can't see the track.
Yeah, but it's okay. They like the racing. And as we'll get into it, they like each other too.
Oh, God.
When we get back, we'll get gay. We'll be back.
I got a question for you, Garrett.
I have an answer.
Are you ready to ride?
I'm ready to win, baby.
Oh, shit.
Oh no, I hit the gate. Oh no, now I'm in last.
Guess I gotta take your place.
That's foreshadowing for what's about to happen here. So
We get to the race.
we pick up with Motocrossed. We're at the big race. We're there. Carson Racing got their big truck. Mom's there. Mom's unloading it. Everyone immediately makes fun of Andrew. I'll do quote unquote
Andi.
Andrew.
Andi.
At this point, we'll call her Andi
Yeah.
in disguise as her brother Andrew.
Yeah.
So everyone's making fun of her because her mommy's here. His
Yes.
mommy's here.
But then he goes to register. He's got to go to fill out the paperwork.
Yes.
He fills it out as Andi.
And they notice,
Some
His.
green nails.
yes.
Really well done manicure, by the way.
Is it?
Yeah.
See, I don't know anything about that.
Okay.
But yeah, so she Andi says something like that, like, oh, it helps secure the handlebars and like limits the arm pump on the whatever. So yeah,
The vibration from the arm pump.
some bullshit. And they're like,
It
"All right,
absorbs the vibration from the
whatever."
arm pump.
But there's also payoff to this later too. Every little bit in this movie.
This movie does do it well to where it's Ocean's, and we did discuss this whilst watching it, Ocean's level of details.
Yeah, nothing's like a throwaway joke, really. Like, they are, but it's, but they all come back around.
You got Andi with her green nails.
Yeah, she
You
registers.
got Mama pulling out her nail stuff to do sitting at the table.
Yes.
And then Homegirl comes over.
One of the
some-
flag girls,
yes,
I think, are what
yes,
they are.
Yes, that's what it is.
One of them comes over and is like, I just noticed you have your nails. Can you take them? And Mom's like, say no more. So, so now like Mom has got like a girl there, and some of the rival racers from this other big company, Art
In
Henderson Racing,
Yes.
yeah, who are dressed in green.
And they're very branded. They're like very well branded.
Yeah, they're the ones to beat. Basically, they got a lot of money. They got like good equipment and stuff. This is like they already exist under a sponsorship, and they're trying to get, I guess, another sponsorship or partnership or whatever out of this race.
Yeah. They're trying to double sponsorship.
This
to
is
be able
another
to
good
do
parallel
this.
to Cars, because the villain car in Cars is also green.
Oh,
Even I guess they're not really the villains. They're just they're not too villainous. But anyway,
that's true.
I'm drawing parallels where there aren't any. What? Don't worry about it. But
It's been a while.
so we see one of their racers anyway notice this, and he's
She's the good-looking one.
the good-looking Dean Talon, which what a name, Dean Talon.
I want the last name Talon.
Talon's a pretty
That's
badass
really
name.
fucking cool.
It is pretty, yeah, it's almost too cool. Who is in love with someone with an also like stupid kind of cool name, Farron Henderson, who's the daughter of Art Henderson, who like owns this thing.
Yes.
She's a bitch. Typical,
Hey yo.
typical. I'm in my hater era these past few movies. I just cannot stand these women, dude. They suck.
The queen bitch.
Yeah.
Please be specific when you
Class-
say that you hate women. Please be. You can be a hater. That's fine. You just have to be specific about who you
This
hate.
definitely isn't the movie for me to say I hate women. Yeah, no, but so the queen bitch that is Farron Henderson. So she's like,
They say something to each other, and he basically stumbles all over his words, much like
he stumbles over his bike. He falls down.
That's right.
He falls down looking at her, and he's like, "This dork."
She's like, this fucking dweeb.
So that is set up that like he likes her, and she like wants another good. She's just better than him and everybody else. Meanwhile, they notice that Andi
Has all the flag girls.
Yeah, has flag girls like lining up to hang out with mom, basically, which they perceive as being like, oh, like
They're there to hang out with Andi.
yeah, they're like, oh, this guy's getting like mad action from these babes, and
No.
that's what they say.
No.
It's how they put it.
That's not what's happening.
No, that's not what's happening. And so he's like, you should ask that kid for help or whatever. Anyway, and so Andy's like interviewed.
Although he was being nice. He was like, he did like do like a little
Yeah, he gives him like a
shaka.
what's up. Yeah, he gives him, yeah. So he does welcome him. So he's established as like being from like the big company.
Kid's just a nice kid, it seems, even though he's part of this big racing thing.
Yeah. Andy's like interviewed at some point here by like a representative of the Phil Collins sponsorship. Rollins. Phil Collins.
That's a very different vibe.
I can feel it coming in the air tonight. Phil Rollins.
Oh, Lord.
The Phil Rollins sponsor, people.
This is a vibe.
Wow.
We're fine.
Okay. This is a late recording episode one, you guys. Recording this one later than we usually do. But so she's interviewed by one of these guys.
Well, he starts to, but then he gets pulled away because
From-
his phone serendipitously rings as he starts to talk
Yeah.
about the man behind the helmet.
Yeah, and it's his boss, who again, this is another thing, will come back around.
Oh, yeah.
So
His boss is very demanding.
yes, we get ready for the first race. Andy's lined up, ready to go, and off to a bad start.
Well, so let's call it, first race nerves over eagerness, because she does kind of like jump off the starting block, which causes her to get caught in the little thing, so in the little gate.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of it. I think that's what that was. I think that they showed, not told, that she was nervous with that.
Yes, yeah, well, they can't have her do some like, there's no internal anime dialogue. I can't believe I've been caught behind the gate. Now I'm behind. Like, there's none of that.
I don't know why that's
It's better than he thought it was going to be.
Damn.
Wow, I can't believe I'm so far behind. I got to catch up.
Yes, that was some Deku type.
Yeah. I know what I'm doing.
I'm a professional.
I'm a professional, yeah. So
anyways.
so she loses. She comes in seventh, and not only does she come in seventh.
No. She didn't even place in this one. She barely finishes on this one, this first
Okay.
heat. So there were several heats. This is a 3-day competition. Her first heat, she does not even place. She comes in dead last.
Not only that, though, that she laps. Is that she ends up so far behind that she's just lapping these guys. And
yeah.
she does kind of like what I assume
Or
is
she
sort of
gets lapped.
an unsportsmanlike thing where she kind of gets in the way of the people who she's like behind.
Yes.
And so someone
So
throws up a sign that like, get out of the way, lapper.
Yeah, they hate her.
Yeah.
So there's that one. And then her second one.
Well, in between. So she's real bummed out that she loses this one.
Yeah, but she's not quite. She's thinking that this is she didn't prove herself. She's being very hard on herself. But we know from her dad being as intense as he is that dad would have been like, that's that internal voice of dad.
Yeah.
Sort of coming through.
Yeah.
Where like dad would have found that unacceptable. But it's not dad who's there. It's mom. Mm-hmm. And mom's like, sweetie, you got it. Go ahead. Just make it through the next one.
Yeah.
That's all you got to do.
Which this one I have written down, she just blows out completely, and it's very embarrassing. I think it is the second one.
This is the second one.
Yeah, she
so
falls
she's
down.
like, she's beyond repair at this point, and she's like, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Bad start.
So Buddy, who gave her the what's up earlier from Henderson
Dean
Racing.
Talon.
Dean Talon comes over and is like, hey, man, you got to like, you can't take this too hard. This is your first race. I bet you're the best back home.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, basically.
Which this reminded me of like a conversation I had with a friend back in probably like late middle school, because the high school we went to
Ooh, good lord for you.
was a magnet school,
Duh.
which is like for like advanced smart people. That's what they say anyway. God knows, but that's the idea.
The degenerates that we were.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Anyway, but so when we have like 2 or 3 of those around here, basically. And so it was like, and I heard someone describe that went to the other one, like one of my middle school friends that went to one of the other magnet high schools around here locally, was like, everyone at that school is the smartest person they know.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, a very true axiom of achievement and stuff. Is that you will encounter people who were like, you might be the best where you came from. You're always going to be a small fish at some point.
Oh, for sure. Well, but then the other thing about this too is
it's just good dialogue. It's good writing.
It's great. It's great because it's also relatable for us, like academic nerds.
It's real lesson shit. Yeah, it's applicable.
Yeah,
it's applicable beyond this world of sports that the movie is taking place in.
Right. And so he says to her, all these guys out here are the best in their hometowns. Mm-hmm. That you come here, you have to prove that you can handle the adversity. And so he's like, he offers to train her. And
he also takes her to go see their little rig.
Oh, yes. This is where they run into Queen Bitch.
Yeah, they run into Queen Bitch, and Andi rizzes her up, as the Zoomers say.
Okay, well, she was just being a girl. She forgot that she was supposed to be a dude.
But Farron, the girl, is into it. Is because she says something like, so I came out, pink chiffon, your perfume, or whatever it is. Uh-huh. She's like, my sister wears it, but it smells a lot better on you.
Oh, God, she did actually.
Yeah. No, she saves it.
That's kind of gay.
She first, right. Which, again, is kind of where, like, Shakespeare gets a little gayer with it, where, like, the female twin character who's disguised as a guy is trying to get with another guy. The guy is trying to get with another girl. The girl falls in love with the twin, and so it's this weird... Again, much.
Oh yeah, the other movie does this much better.
Yes, yeah.
I'm not saying the name of that movie.
We'll come back with spoiler in future series. So yeah, so in the version where they probably could have gotten away with it, this Farron character definitely would have been into Andi.
Oh yeah,
and
she was a little bit though. She
does have
because
a few remarks here and there.
Because when her dad's like, so they walk through, they like a dad who owns Henderson Racing.
Art Henderson himself.
In the flesh.
In the flesh, yeah. Kind of our main villain, I guess, in the end.
A little bit. He was like, what are y'all like? He's like, why do you have the competition back here, whatever, at Dean?
Yeah, he's pissed that he's giving him this tour.
But Dean immediately picks up on the riz that Andi has with Farron. Because Dean can't get a freaking word out.
Oh, yeah, stumbles.
This poor kid... just gets tongue-tied and nervous.
Which I like this too for his characterization because he's a conventionally attractive guy.
And he's a cool kid.
He's a cool kid who does like sports stuff.
And he cannot talk to girls.
Yeah, the fact that he has no riz, that he's a rizless dude is also like a good...
True.
He has to be for the plot.
Yeah.
Kind of.
That's part of the... That is part of the 12th Night plot too.
Sure.
He walks out and he's like, wait a minute, dude.
Wait a minute, dude. I got an idea. They don't talk like this, but also she's the only one who tries to talk like this.
This is true. He goes, I'll teach you to race if you'll help me get Farron. Mm-hmm. And she's like, I don't know, dude. Whatever. Meanwhile, Dad comes out. Art Henderson himself comes out and goes, there's something weird about that kid.
Weird. He waves his hand. Yeah, he means gay. He does not. He does not. A hand motion too. He does a hand motion. Like something weird about. Like he means something queer about that kid is what he means. It is.
He wasn't allowed to say that word.
No, they're not allowed to. But it's like this actor communicates.
Disney film, mate. He can't talk about it.
Yeah, no. It's so, man. It's like it's
because he brings up the manicure and he's like the nail polish is a crock and. This is also, I don't know if you've ever heard this particular expression, crock of shit.
Crock of shit, yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah. But anyway, Farron likes him.
She stands up for him.
Yeah.
She's like, at least he's different, at least he's unique or whatever.
But this is like a step or two below being a very queer coded movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think it's still I can't speak to it because I'm not part of the community. You didn't watch this one growing up? But so I don't know, but I imagine this would have been like a foundational movie for people within that community. I'm speculating. Let me know.
Well, I mean, in Stick It, the girl in Stick It.
What is Stick It?
Haley, I think is her name. It's a gymnastics movie.
Okay.
So there was that, and then there was it's Haley and Stickit and Missy and Bring It On.
Oh.
And these are in subsequent years. Those are the and then Shigo, of course. But Shigo was an awakening for everybody.
Yeah. That's not special. Not saying it's not right. It's absolutely correct, but it's not unique.
Yeah. Yeah. So Andi in this is, I think this one was a little niche too.
Yeah, it feels pretty niche.
Because our generation, we were 5, so this was not something that we would have watched.
But again, for me, it was on reruns a lot, so it still reached me at least, and so I imagine it still reached others. And
that's true.
You know, whether it's like her being this little buzz cut mask presenting person, or whether it is like the theme of it of like this weird relationship with a guy who, I don't know. There's a lot going on in this one that I don't know.
The pants do good things in this one.
On the guys?
No.
On the girl? Like how she's wearing like the
just
pants?
like the suit, I think, in general.
Yeah, like when it's like tucked down and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel you. Like when she's got the tank top on and it just has the suit pants.
Well, this will make a comeback too because of the book talk and bike talk coming together.
Oh, those. Okay, so I don't know anything about that.
It's a weird.
I believe it. I believe it.
It's a weird thing.
Anyway, so this kick starts Dean and Andy's little friendship.
Yeah, and so he says, "I'll train you if you do this." But she is still very disheartened about the fact that she
doesn't take him up on it at first.
And she goes and she cries to mom a little. She doesn't cry actually, but she does like whine to mom a little bit about it.
Mom gets off the phone with dad, who has not found anybody yet and has not revealed anything to dad.
Yeah, mom has. And she goes, "Oh, you know how forgetful I am. I might have forgotten."
Yeah, basically telling Andi that like we're staying in this thing, you and me.
So she's like, you just have to figure out a way to win. And she was like, "Well, wait, I know how." And
so
she
goes
runs
back
off
to Dean. Yeah.
And she's like, "I got you." And he's like, "All right."
So we cut to, I think this is where we get, this is the great montage. Love this montage of the movie. So we get her and Dean, they're training in the wilderness. He's
telling her how to train in all types of terrain.
Yeah.
So that she learns basically to become one with her bike and feel the ground beneath her.
Yeah.
It's very Fast and Furious too, as you have to feel the road.
I find this I love this scene. I found this a lot more fun. I'll contrast it with Windy Woo last time, where we had like the training montage that was botched because of the awful music that used it.
Yeah, this one had a good one.
Great little like pop punk tune.
Was this the one where we were like also duetting with a different song?
Yeah, it sounds kind of like "There She Comes."
Yeah.
It sounds kind of like that.
But it's not that.
Yeah, but it's a damn good song. I love this. I love this montage. It's a great. I don't know what he's talking about when it comes to like the training. I'm like, this means nothing to me. But I like how it's shot. Where you're talking about like the jumps.
It's all about controlling the bike and being able to control yourself while you're on it.
But where you talk about like the aerial shots and like the jumps and stuff and how like all that and like the slow-mo, like this scene lets all that breathe in a way where like I don't need to follow the race of it because it's not a race. It is just watching the bikes do bike stuff.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool. Same thing with like we're just watching Kung Fu people do Kung Fu stuff.
That's
the
true.
Last one. She has the great little line in the middle of this where she's like, he's so cute. Which is
right before he takes off, or right as he takes off.
Takes off, and like the beat drops in the song, which I love that. Like she plays that so genuinely, and it is like she's so cute in that. And I think the other reason I like this movie, why I think it's like the quote unquote best one of these, is it feels the most committed. There's no beating around the bush when it comes to like the relationship elements.
Oh yeah,
and now you see it. And even in Windy Woo, where like Shane and Wendy are like not cousins, but they say they're cousins, and like there's clear, and we didn't really talk about it in that episode. But,
this one committed to being into each other.
There's no kiss at the end or anything like that. It doesn't feel like it needs one because this scene kind of almost pays off on it more, and they take the time with them to spend with them to build on it.
I wish the listeners could see my face.
Yeah, I don't know.
I got a nice grimace going over here. Like, ooh.
It's a good scene.
It's icky.
Well, it gets icky. Doesn't get icky, but it gets gay in a second here.
Which is
fine. Which is fine, but it's confusing because
Well, it's the same thing in like Beauty and the Beast. It's the same thing in Mulan, where it's like
it's very
gay.
Mulan.
You're gay.
You just like
You're just gay.
Yeah. Well,
You just like boys.
they
Just
end
say
up
that you
at
like
the
boys.
they end up at the water and
She goes, "That is so beautiful," and he just looks at her like she's crazy.
I mean, that's cool. I mean, it's so cool out here. Like she saves it by like saying something other than beautiful.
And he's like, "Well, we didn't come up here to look at it. Take your shirt off."
Yeah, and he takes his shirt off, which I think is pretty risque. I don't even think we got any like shirtless Zac
We
Efron.
also didn't talk about the way that he was like when he was about to train her. He was like, I'm gonna like run you so hard or whatever
so much.
that you're gonna be so sore." And I was like, I looked over at you and I was like, it's really gay.
This guy, she isn't. I mean, she is because she has this like masked energy to her, obviously. You know what I mean? But like, they're both.
This was very inappropriate for a 15-year-old girl.
Yeah, well, right. Well, and she panics, and and this obviously goes over your head, but she's like, it's like Mulan, where like he hops in the water, Shin hops in the water, and and she's like, I obviously cannot
Get in the water.
get in the water.
Get in the water.
But,
Get in the water.
so instead, it gets even more intimate than that because she like tackles him into it,
Yeah.
and then they're like looking at each other.
It's so gross.
You have to again. It's not
so
that it's
gross.
It's not that it's yeah. Well, it's just weird because you have to think in his perspective. This is just some dude I met, and now I'm like water wrestling with him, and he's supposed to. It's what is the dynamic?
All right, so you had a pool growing up.
I did.
Did you have like friends over and y'all wrestled in the pool?
We would do like chicken fights with like my uncles and stuff.
Yeah, so there you go. That's what that was.
There wasn't fun pop punk romantic
This
music
is very
playing in the
tense. This is
background.
very tense for that. song.
She's not making eyes at him. She is making eyes at him and stuff. Like it has vibes to it that are not exactly heterosexual.
This kid is bi.
Yeah, at the minimum, what is it? Dean Talon?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty.
Well, it's very like bi name.
Yeah, I was gonna say too. Yeah, I was like, that sounds like the name of a bisexual man if I ever heard.
That's a bi wife energy right there.
Oh yeah, I know. And she's got to be too. She doesn't exhibit too much, and that's the thing. I was kind of surprised. I kind of went into this expecting her to exhibit some kind of like more lesbian inclinations, and she doesn't actually. She does not seem into.
She has the haircut. That's it.
She has the hair. She has the look.
She
that's
has
all.
the haircut that most masks end up
You said she looks like a young Hillary Clinton.
I did. It was the highlights. It was the highlights.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So this is it's a good scene. I like this scene a lot. Might be my favorite scene in the movie.
Very
it's also
progressive for this time, in my opinion, too, because of the way that, like, they did say grace, but then you also have, like, a very gay-presenting child.
I don't know that they intended it that way, but we're taking it that way.
That's where it went.
And we like it for what it is. And I just think composition-wise, production-wise, it's shot really well. I think it does her little line, like, he's so cute. Like, just the acting, the characterization of it.
Yeah.
It makes him...
She does dreamy eyes really well with her little Bambi eyes.
Well, and he does, too. And it also, like, elevates it makes his character really likable.
He keeps looking her up and down the whole time, too.
Yeah.
It's like middle school level checking out. Weird.
Man, I apologize for any and all of my middle school checking out, because there's no disguising it.
No. You are all
You
very
think you're being
obvious.
slick. And
You're not.
Never
You are
slick.
never slick. No,
Oh, man.
no man is ever slick about checking anyone out.
No.
Women aren't either, but we get away with it because we are allowed to.
And you know what else you're allowed to do? Motocross. So we get Andi meeting with Farron. So he tries to set him up with Farron, and she.
Yeah, so they're all staying in the same hotel.
And he basically talks to her, and he's just like, "Hey, where's Dean? Dean's a cool guy, right?" And she's like, "No, he sucks."
She's like, why would I know where Dean
Yeah,
is?
he's
There's
awful.
such disgust in this girl's voice.
Yeah, she sucks. Because we know Dean's cool. He's fine.
Dean's a really nice guy.
So he shows up. He has another great scene here where he's like, "Tell me what she said. Tell me what she said." He does this head tilt.
He turns into a little snake.
What she say? What she say? It's so.
And Andy's actively trying not to like see him. Like
Well,
because she's like, Mom, if you see him, tell him I went to get donuts or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Mom is a real ally here too.
Right. Yeah. She's playing along pretty well. And Andi tells him, she's like, she sucks, dude. Like she's into. Oh, this is where you said, what is she looking for, Ashley?
A man in finance, 6'5", blonde hair, blue eyes.
Yeah. Nothing like
She's
Dean.
looking for a man in finance.
Not you, bro. So he's devastated at this.
Because she wants a dude who's not in motocross shirt and jeans.
Yeah.
She wants him to have other interests than motocross, and she wants him to be committed solely to her.
Awful.
That's
Awful.
toxic.
And she talks him down from it a little bit. She's like, I just think she's bad news, bro. And she's like, it's okay if you don't want to train me anymore, since it doesn't seem like this is gonna go anywhere. And he's like, it's okay. I'll still train you, man. You're a cool dude. And then she hugs him.
And he freaks out.
And he's like, whoa, dude. This is where his internalized homophobia comes through.
By the way, we are reading a lot into this.
We
We should probably put a disclaimer on this. Like, this is just what we see,
Yeah. It's just.
knowing what we know now.
Yeah. If this was made now, is the thing. It would absolutely be like this guy's journey of self-discovery and hers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. If
100%.
it's a CW drama made in like 2021 or whatever, like, it's there. But anyway, but she's like, oh, we're just a hugging family. It's okay. And he's like, yeah, all right. Just don't do that around here, man.
Yes. Yes.
So we get into the next race where she does finally place. And
She gets
this
seventh.
is the one where she finishes 7th. Yeah.
And so then she calls her brother about it. They talk on the phone. While they're talking on the phone, before she got up to the hotel to call her brother about
She
it,
finds Dean again in
bummed
sulking.
the fuck out.
Sad boy hours.
And he like won again today. Like he won his races. Mind you, the other thing about him is he is in the 250 races and she's in the 125.
Yeah.
It's a different type of bike. That's all that you really need to know.
Yeah, so he's in sad boy hours because he's just
Sad boy hours.
I can't stop thinking about it. He's chewing on a single french fry.
He's got a whole plate in front of him, completely untouched, and he's just like nibbling on one fry.
Yeah. And he's like, I just can't stop thinking about her, man. That she has this mature response, which we talked about. Like, this is more mature than I think any real person would be.
Yeah, this is the most unrealistic part of this movie.
Yeah, where she's like, listen, I understand what it's like to want something you can't have, but you gotta put that behind you and chase after better things or whatever. Because that's what she's doing by trying to set him up. And she says as much to her mom, or here's the unrealistic part is she looks at her mom. She goes, I just want him to be happy. Who the what? When you
just met this dude yesterday.
Yeah, well, and the other girl sucks. It's not like
That too. It's not like he's going to actually be happy.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Right.
So she calls her brother.
Mom has a good line here, though, too, where she's like, she asks her about dad or something like that. She's like, how'd you meet dad? Or, how'd you know? And he's like, well, I met your father and then someone with a lot more money or something. I can't remember what the line is, but she has a good little snark here.
Yes.
Yeah, then...
we call Twin. We're talking to Twin about 7th place, and Twin is hype for her.
Super supportive, bro.
Yeah. So what this movie does that Wendy Wu didn't do,
build on the relationship between siblings and stuff.
And what we didn't get at all because they were both only children with Now You See It, is you get the very supportive family. Mm-hmm. Very cool. He's talking on the phone and little bro is like saying, remember to do this with your whatever.
Well, he's like, they're going to need me eventually.
Yeah.
Which they will.
They will.
Yeah.
But then he says, hey, we found your NSYNC tickets while we were, looking around. Like, do you want them? And she's like, no, I'm not going to use them. He's like, well, they are for this weekend. She's like, well, you go. And he goes, what am I going to do at an NSYNC concert? And then she realizes, she says, any girl would kill to have those tickets. And then she gets the idea.
Yeah.
Because mom gets a package delivered to the hotel door.
Yeah, she gets, mail.
Yes.
That's her brilliant idea. It's like, the mail.
Mail time. So she's like,
makes me want to wag my tail. Mail time.
That was a Blue's Clues reference if you didn't catch it. Good Lord.
Full of them today.
So she says, hey, can you overnight them to me? And he says, sure. So he overnights the tickets.
She gets her brilliant plan with Dean. So she and Dean are like coming out of the elevator. Now Dean is looking like a sensitive, elevated man. A man of taste.
The only way this happens is he has a turtleneck on.
Yeah, nice knit turtleneck, which it looks pretty hot out. It's like, this is, I don't know what the weather is.
It's hot as fuck outside, and he's wearing a turtleneck. Are you kidding me?
And she's like, dude, I'm telling you, NSYNC sucks, bro. I can't believe you got fifth row tickets.
You will never catch me dead at an NSYNC concert, whatever. Trashes herself so that she's also off the table with, what is this girl's name? Farron.
What a name, right? Farron and Dean Talon. The names in this are all over the place.
Fallon
Art
and Talon would
Henderson?
have been better.
Huh?
Arthur?
Fallon?
Fallon would have been better.
Dean Fallon? Or Fallon Talon?
Fallon and
You think
Talon.
you want her to be Fallon Talon if she marries this guy?
She wasn't going to marry this dude anyway.
Well, she definitely won't if she's going to be Fallon Talon.
The alliteration. That's not what that is.
That's just rhyming. Anyway, she falls for it.
We're funny.
So she falls for it. She's like, you have tickets in sync? Oh my God. She's like, do you have anyone to go with? He's like, I guess not. You wouldn't be interested in going, would you?
And he plays it really cool. He actually finally
He
has
does.
a voice.
He seems
He's
a little
okay.
shy, but he's like, but he's,
But he plays it coyly. It's supposed to be that he's a little shy.
And then it gets a little Ocean's 11-y where she's like, my dad's going to be here in a bit, but I'll go get change or whatever. And he's like, oh, man.
And Andy's like, I'll tell your dad. It's fine. And she's like, oh, well, I'll go get my concert clothes on. Actually.
You need concert clothes. Even in 2001, you needed concert clothes.
I guess I pack that way. I was going to say who packs concert clothes just
Taylor
in the
Swift
outfits
girlies.
that you can go. But then I realized that I pack a ridiculous amount of outfits knowing that I'm only there for the weekend. So it's fine.
I'm packing like 20 pairs of underwear for like a 2-day trip.
Just in case.
Just in case. Just in case I shit myself like 18 times. Yeah. You never have enough. You never know.
I'm dead. I'm going to need a minute. Just in case you shit your What were we talking about?
Ocean's 11. So Andi is like, her dad's not coming down. I called her. I told her dad'd be waiting for her. And so she leaves Dean to like get with her. And that's it.
And that's it. They're together ever since.
Yeah.
So the next day at the race, no, literally,
Yeah.
because you cut to the next day at the race and they're holding hands walking in.
Oh, yeah.
So they are together now.
Mm-hmm. So she final race that she gets
She
to
has
do.
2 more races this day. She gets first place, or no, just the one, I guess.
Yeah, it's the one. She finally places first.
She places first, which puts her third
overall. Yeah. But victory is short-lived because Dad is here.
Dad's a fucking party. So reason number 3, if you were keeping track of my reasons with Dad. So you want the Carson name to do well. You know for sure, because you read the letter, you know from the letter that there had to be a Carson Racing showing at this heat or at this
the meet or whatever it is.
This competition in order to qualify for the next one. So
one way or another had to get done.
It had to be done. So why are you pissed?
They're third overall,
if you are
too.
actually this intensely focused on it, why do you care how it got done?
Well, and I'll come back to this full circle, is like Dad's motivation is almost understandable, but they stopped just short of making it as justifiable as I want it to. But
fine.
I see where they're going with it. I'll come back to it when he does come around and has a little bit of a redemption at the end.
All right.
So I'll put a pin in where I think he's coming from.
So he comes back. He's like, pack up your shit. So she starts crying because Dad...
This is good too. She's ugly crying. Like acting-wise, this is like Tobey Maguire Spider-Man crying, where like it's not pretty, it's not cute.
It isn't. It's not. Well, it's not quite as ugly crying as you would think.
It's realistic ugly crying. It's not like over-the-top ugly crying, but she's having...
It's not Kim K ugly crying.
It's true, like trying your hardest to hold it in. Ugly crying.
And can't.
Yeah. And Dean shows up and is like, hey, man,
He's
let's go, bro.
Yeah.
And she's
he's
like,
hyped for her.
Okay, whatever. Yeah, she can't hold it together. Dad just like dead eyes him.
Dad is cold fucking hearted. Like,
Yeah.
has no interest about the fact that she made a friend at the races. Like,
Yeah.
none of that. Like, doesn't even really acknowledge that like Dean is there other than to glare at him to like get lost.
It's bad. Dad sucks. They do like almost too good a job of making Dad unsympathetic. Because when they get back to the house too, like everyone's like kind of laying into him. He's basically like, I don't want you to get hurt, which kind of comes back to that's going to be his core thing that I'll talk about later. I'll promise I'll get to it. He's like insistent, like, you're not doing this. It's over. We're done. Mom is like, doesn't give him the ice cream, which is just great, like subtle. Normally they draw attention to that. Like in a Disney Channel sitcom, they would make like a big joke out of that, but that's just like subtle blocking that they do. They don't, she just doesn't.
She puts the ice cream back in the freezer and he has to get it himself. Yeah.
And he's like, you're acting a little hypocritical. Kind of like what you're saying, where it's like, we won. Like, get over it, dude. Mom
calls him hypocritical. Jason is, as the old man that he is. Yeah. Because and now that I think about it, that kid is just like an old man in a little kid's body.
He is very Dewey. You're right. Like, Dewey has that same kind of vibe to him.
Yeah.
It's just,
He's sitting at the table with, I assume a racing magazine about engines or something.
Maybe even a manual.
Probably.
Or something.
Probably the way this kid works.
Yeah.
And a bowl of ice cream. And he's not really even, like, and he's just, like, he's, like, slumped over this, whatever this is. Like, he's stressed. Like, this kid is stressed. Eating his little ice cream bowl.
Dad's like, do you think I'm hypocritical?
And the kid says, if that's a good thing, yeah. If that's a bad thing, no way.
And Dad's like, which feels like a last minute effort to like make him a little funny and sympathetic. It's still not enough.
It's not enough.
It's like they kind of tack this little joke on the end of this scene, and I don't think it works as well as they want it to work.
The next day, Andi goes back to her girl clothes,
which looks weird with her current look.
Yeah,
it is very like into Beauty and the Beast. Where, like,
which we also don't talk about how she got this haircut, like because it's pretty well done to the point where it's kind of professionally done. So we don't talk about how she got there. We don't have any idea. Allegedly, she took clippers to her head herself, but how did she get the fade so well in the back? I don't know.
She got that Captain Marvel do.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. The Brie Larson. Yeah, I see what you mean. It's perfectly highlighted, which her hair was highlighted
it's
before.
Like, how did she get that?
Even if she had done it herself, I would have wanted just like a shot of her.
I am kind of sad we didn't get like a nice like Mulan cutting her hair sequence type thing of her doing it.
Yeah, like in the other one.
Or starting to do it and then it cuts off or something like that.
In the other 12th Night adaptation, we get a whole like makeover montage scene.
Right. I think the reveal of this one is good. Going back where she does just pop up in the store.
That's true.
Fully changed, like for the joke, it kind of lands.
Yeah.
But I like what you're saying. Where like it would be good if there was a dramatic makeover sequence.
The other person that she looks like with this hair is Jamie Lee Curtis in Freaky Friday.
A little bit, yeah. That's another one we got to do. The movie shifts now for like a good 10 minutes or so here. When we meet, guy knocks on their door.
He literally gets his 15 minutes of fame. I timed his screen time. He sucks.
Is it like about 15 minutes?
It's 15 minutes.
That's crazy. So like side villain introduced towards the end here, which like I have a couple reasons why I don't love this. Is so like Renee Cartier, who is like a French racer who Dad's picked up from Europe to basically replace Andi and race for them in this final heat or whatever it is.
And from the jump, this dude is the worst because he knocks on the door and immediately kisses Andi's hand, which she's like grossed out about and tells her brothers about, and they're like, ew.
Does the same to Mom too, and Dad's uncomfy.
Dad's uncomfy about it too.
All right, and he starts ordering them around. He's like, I need you to buy me these pots.
He's like, I need these. He has a whole list of parts that he wants immediately.
He doesn't want Jason to do them, even though Jason's like an expert.
Jason's the actual one that does, and everybody trusts Jason in the family to do the stuff. Like this is not new. This is not something that Jason is just like offering to do.
He takes over Andi's bedroom because he has to sleep in a west-facing room where the sun won't wake him up or whatever the hell.
Yes, because he needs his beauty sleep.
Yeah.
He's already ugly.
And Dad goes along with all of this. Dad is catering to his every whim for like no reason.
Yeah. This is reason number 4 why Dad sucks.
He blows out like the top engine or whatever it is on one of the bikes.
He's over revving.
While practicing.
He's over revving while practicing, which blows the engine in the top end. He insults Jason. He insults Andrew. He insults Andrea.
He has a scene where he straight up like finds her like doing dishes or something.
He walks up to her after coming in, insulting both of her brothers, and says, "I see you finally figured out where you're most useful to the family."
Whoa.
Buddy!
Yeah, when I watched this for the first time,
Them's fighting words.
I was like, dude, bro.
You did text me about this, and you like had warned me that this was going to be god awful.
Yeah.
I didn't believe you.
I
was like, oh, it's going to be fine. Nuh-uh.
My criticism of this is that like it got the intended reaction out of me where I was like, whoa, this guy sucks. Whoa.
Yeah, he is. He's not an ambiguous villain at all.
No, and it makes you.
Oh, they had also found an article that he was unsportsmanlike.
Yeah, that he just sucks.
He's been disqualified from European races as well.
And Dad insists like that's what we need. We need aggression,
right?
Or not to win or whatever. But I have mixed feelings about this character and like the purpose he serves by like being this like because up until this point the movie has been kind of realistically sexist. In the sense of like guys picking on her at the beginning and stuff like that, and stuff like, oh, she can't hug him because that's unmasculine. And, it almost feels, it's even now, like 20 something years later, it still kind of feels like all of the upward.
This is very over the top.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Is that this is like immediate, like stay in the kitchen. He's awful. He sucks. And he's like, not to
bad rep for France. All the above.
Yeah. Not to say that there are not people like this who are over the top this way. IRL. You know what I mean? These people exist. But
this is the kind of person who wants Gilead.
Oh yeah, from The Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. And those people exist, and we hate them, and go fuck yourself if you're one of them. But
honestly, though, yeah.
Yeah, we don't want you here. But for the story, it's been very realistic and grounded up until this point, and now it's like he's very over the top and very hitting this theme a little harder.
Although I mean, to your point, these people exist.
Yeah. I mean, I think it does work in the sense that he is kind of the final challenge you have to overcome, and she has to overcome him as directly as possible, as she does. And again, at the end of the day, it got the intended reaction out of us. We were just like, fuck this guy. He sucks. And
well, and if you think about it conversely, if a nice guy had come in from Europe.
Do you think that would have been better if it was like almost a twist?
No.
Don't they do that in like Princess Diaries or something with like a nice guy who ends up being evil or something like that? Like
yes.
he's revealed as like I'm misremembering the plot of those, or maybe it's some other movie I'm thinking of.
It's Princess Diaries 2.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, because it's Chris Pine. But if this had been a genuinely nice European dude, you'd have been like, yeah, of course you let the European dude ride for the family.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like this, but you need somebody like we needed in 13, like we needed in 11. You need a dude with no honor.
Just escalated evil.
Yeah.
To truly see the fight through. Yeah.
Yeah, because you wouldn't be as fired up.
See the theme through and stuff. Yeah.
You wouldn't be as fired up about letting Andi race, really.
Yeah.
If it weren't this incredibly awful dude.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like it is still a little too much too late? Where she should have been facing a little bit more? I guess she couldn't because she's in disguise.
Right. That was the whole point.
Yeah. No, yeah. In the end, it works. I feel like it could have been toned down a smidge.
Yeah.
To bring it.
That particular quote didn't need to be there.
Just to bring it in line with the groundedness that the rest of the movie has had up until this point.
Although, it does give you a really good groundwork for Mom's quote later. Mm. So we get through this dude sucking at the house. The next day, basically, we're racing again. He races for the family in the first heat.
Well, we also meet, finally, real Andrew meets Dean.
Oh, yeah.
And Dean also meets
real
Andrea for the first time and is like immediately smitten.
Yeah. Yes.
And she knows Farron as well.
He also starts stumbling the same way that he was with Farron when he first met her.
Oh, yeah. Dude has no riz. But,
oh man.
So he races in the first heat and like knocks a dude off his bike. So like immediately
that unsportsmanlike conduct came right back.
Still wins it, but like he blows the engine out again.
He blows the engine out again, and then he comes out post-heat interview, they ask about Andi because they're like, well, Andi has showed us real promise, and apparently he tweaked his leg, you know, because you have the actual Andi walking around with his leg brace.
Right.
You know, and, you know, can you speak to his injury or whatever? And dude takes the mic completely and is like, that's the past. We don't need to talk about him.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and there's a bit here too where we see Art Henderson, the little rival racing company guy, like he kind of is lurking in the background.
Art literally comes out and
noticing.
weasels his way into like walking off with Renee.
Mm-hmm. Well, even earlier, like he does a thing earlier when I think Dean wins or one of the other guys wins, where he like kind of interrupts the whole interview and he's like, Art Henderson racing is the best.
Yes.
And I think he kind of like nudges Dean at some point, and Dean's like, and also my Art Henderson motorcycle is the best. Like, you know, like he's shilling his company as much as possible.
Right. So he weasels his way back in with Renee.
Andrea notices him talking with Art.
But in the meantime, she goes over to check on the guy. So the guy that Renee knocked over
is the guy that she was beating in the last one.
Right, and is Dean's teammate.
Barrett.
And it's Barrett.
Yeah.
And so they go figure out, she goes to go figure out if Barrett's okay. And they're talking about the bike being fucked up or whatever. And she's like, she gives him a recommendation on a pipe.
And he's like, oh, damn, she knows bikes?
Yeah.
That's hot as hell.
And then Dean's like, oh, my God. You know?
Yeah.
And she's like, well, I grew up in a racing family. And
he's
like,
looking right at her.
Yeah.
It really feels like he should. And he does, I guess, have a line here. It's like, I just feel like I know her.
Right.
But, like, dude, that is Andi, dude. Like this,
that's your buddy too.
It's the same face. She's not like
she just has eyeliner on.
Barely,
that's it.
Barely too. Like she is not like hyper prettied up or anything. Like she's
no, it's not heavy eyeliner or anything.
No.
So she talks to him, tells him what to do with the bike. She walks off. As she's walking off, she sees Renee coming out of the Art Henderson trailer because she was standing right next to it, and she's like, "Hey, dude, what the fuck?" And he's like, I don't appreciate you treating me like a criminal. I didn't do shit.
Dad finds them talking and is just like, leave them alone. Like, we have no reason to believe any of this or whatever. And it's just like, dude, we have all the reason to believe.
And so he like tells her to apologize to him. So she goes off presumably to, like, he's already stormed off. Renee has.
Yeah.
She goes off to presumably apologize to him. Dad walks back, and this is where we finally get the wallop that Mom finally delivers, where the both boys are shaking their head at him because they're both having to rebuild this engine for this bike. They had to rip out the second engine from the top end from the practice bike to put on the racing bike, and they're both done with Dad. And Mom says, "Well, tell me something. How would you?" She said, "Well, she starts off with the." Aren't you the one who says that if it barks like a dog, walks like a dog, it probably has fleas, is full of fleas like a dog? Yeah. And he's like, well, you know,
sounds like some folksy shit, I'd say.
He's like, well, no, he basically is like, you're wrong. Like, this is just y'all being ridiculous or whatever. Like, you just don't like him because whatever. And she was like, all right, let me put it to you this way. How would you describe Andi? And he goes, she's beautiful, she's smart, she gets along with just about everybody. She's like, okay, let me stop you right there.
She gets along with just about
in your
everybody.
words, she gets along with just about everybody. Why doesn't she get along with this dude?
Yeah, says a lot if someone, which this is true for life too. I think this is actually again like another just
there's a life lesson tucked in there.
Yeah, there's a couple in this one.
And Jason has a nice one-liner as he walked by, and he goes, "She speaks the truth, Dad." And then just like,
or he says something like, "She got me too, man."
something like that.
Yeah. And then Dad like sits on the stump and like kind of has this internal, which I like this too. He doesn't say it. There's no line. He just sits and thinks. You know, and you see it on his face.
Well, much like you, he has to be talked into believing himself.
Yeah. He's a stubborn dude.
You have to use his words against him. He has to talk himself.
It has to
into
be my idea. Yeah.
Whatever.
So we get into his redemption. He goes to like find Andi, finds her still arguing with Renee, who pushes her. And at that point,
well, no, he says your family is a disgrace or is a joke. He says your family is a joke.
Oh yeah. Well, she's like, I'm doing this for my family, and he's like, your family's a joke.
Yeah.
And then he like pushes her or whatever, and he's like, get out of here, stop that, it's my daughter, you're fired. And and he's like, fine. So he goes off to betray them, joins the Art Henderson thing, as we'll see.
Very quickly. So the second heat comes up, same
which
day.
I feel like there's got to be contracts involved there. So I don't know the legality and logistics of all that.
I don't know.
But, for plot, sure.
Yeah.
5 minutes later, he's on the other team. He's got a suit and everything.
Right.
But they have money. They've established that they're the money team. So I guess it tracks. But so we get Andi and Dad
walking back arm in arm,
Yeah.
basically. And brother has already loaded up the bike and stuff. And he's like, I heard you fired Renee. And he was like, well, we still have a rider.
Well, let me get to Dad and Andy's scene here, because this is
Oh,
where
yeah, you have to get the explanation first.
this is where I get into, I think, Dad's, because he has this thing. He's like, we prayed to have a daughter, and because I grew up racing, and I had my friends and stuff would get hurt, and I figured if we had a daughter, I wouldn't have to deal with that. I wouldn't have to go through the pain of seeing, my little girl get hurt and stuff. And then we had twins, and then what happens. I trained you to race anyway, whatever. So on paper, this makes sense. This is like,
Okay, but here's my counter argument for that. Here's reason number 5 why Dad sucks. And this is the hardest hitting
okay,
one.
I might come back, but go ahead.
Okay, so remember when I said early on that this is like the classic, the parents want the kids to live out their dreams
Yeah.
that they had. Okay, so Mom, when it was just Mom and Andi at the races.
Yes, yeah, they have a scene earlier, yeah.
They have a scene earlier where she talks about how she wanted to be in this band, and her grandmother, or Andi's grandmother, her mom, had
Talked
told
her out of it.
had told her she needed to quit the very next day or else. And so she did, and she's always wondered, what if? And she does have a dead dream that she has carried with her. But instead of trying to force it upon her children, she was in a band, she wanted to sing. Instead of forcing it on her children, she had vowed that her kids would never be prevented from living out their dreams because of her. This is what Dad could have done.
Right. And this Mom's scene there feels very true to life too, where, sometimes you don't get everything you want, and you have to be happy.
But your parents stand in your way because they're like, no, you can't because whatever.
Well, and this is where my thing with the dad comes in, is it feels like there is a chapter missing from his story, where his stuff, his obsession here with racing and stuff, that's all kind of, that's a lot of tell and don't show kind of stuff with him, where he keeps, he alludes to like, oh, my friends got hurt, I used to race all the time.
Well, he talks about it like a retired high school athlete who I could have made it big.
Exactly.
I could have made it to majors.
That's what I want, is I want the specifics. I think it would be better, and this would hit harder and deliver on like the why of like, why is he this way? Why is he such a hard ass about this? Is if like he did get hurt and he couldn't do it anymore.
Right.
Or if he had a friend who like died or got really hurt, and maybe it was a girl, or something. Maybe he has a more specific. thing.
that would have held more water in this scenario than his just little lame ass. Like, I didn't want my little
It's
girl
so
to
broad.
get hurt.
Yeah, the way that he talks about it is so broad. Like, my friends got hurt, I don't want you to get hurt. It's like, what friend specifically? Like, what if maybe they had like an uncle or something?
Right.
I feel like that's an easy little write-in you can do.
My sister died because
whatever. Yeah. And that would fix, I think, a lot of the problems.
Or my sister is permanently injured or something.
That would fix, I think, a lot of the problems you have with him.
Absolutely.
And would at least
it softens the blow significantly if that
it doesn't
were the case.
Again, I don't think it justifies him.
Absolutely
but
not.
it explains it.
Yes.
And that, I think, the explanation as it is, I think, is just a little too weak for the rest of the movie.
Right.
And for how how mean they write him. He's just so mean.
He is very mean.
But he turns it around, and he does go back, and he's like, we still got a race to win. We got a Carson that can do it. And
yes.
Yeah, so we get
the best scene.
It's a pretty badass scene.
Andrew's like, I can't. Well, the race starts in a few minutes. Like, I can't. We don't have the time. There's no way that we get this done.
Yeah.
And Mom comes around the corner with little buddy Jason.
Little buddy. Yep.
And says, "Oh, you're so quick to give up."
And he taps his screwdriver. He's like, haha.
Yeah, and and this is what he's been training for this whole movie. He's been timing himself to be under this kind of pressure.
Which again, it delivers on it. It delivers on this little running gag that's been going on.
So we get the montage of her getting dressed and getting ready to ride, while brother is stressed
It's a
and
badass-
wiping sweat from his
Yeah.
brow that he ain't sweating at all, but whatever.
If this were like the Avengers, it'd be like Iron Man suiting up while like Jarvis assembles a new arc reactor or whatever.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
100%.
You see what they're going for, and obviously it's like budgeted down to like just being her suiting up, whatever.
Yeah,
you know
but
what
it's
I mean?
still, it lands. It lands
lands,
because
yeah.
you see him literally pull engine parts and put them together. Like, it's cool. It's cool. And the next thing about it is he goes, well, y'all started this journey together. You should end it together. So
yeah.
mom and daughter are the two. She gets to be on this as part of the coaches on the sidelines with Andi.
We didn't talk also about mom's drip.
Oh,
like
yeah.
Earlier, she orders like Carson Racing like jacket and like
Yeah.
little hat and stuff. So
She's cute.
She's dripped out for like she's like if I'm doing this, I'm doing it.
Yeah, she's
I'm
very
coach.
cute. She's
Yeah.
very cute. She looks really badass, actually.
The costuming in this is actually, let's talk about that for just briefly.
The yellow, very consistent.
The way
Big
that
fan.
they- yeah.
The primary colors versus the green. We get that with Cartier ending up to be racing against her in the Henderson green.
Yep. It's an okay race. Again, like I'm kind of so on the races.
Well, so he goes to do his signature move of body slamming on the last turn
Yeah.
to knock his opponent out, and she brakes hard to avoid that.
So he just slides.
It sends him flying over the track.
Yeah.
Which is great.
And it lands, he takes one to the head.
He takes one to the
He's, like,
head. He
wheeled-
definitely has like at least
Yeah.
a mini concussion, and he's pissed off about it. So at her post-race interview, he comes up and he's like, "That's such a move that a girl would do."
A trick a girl would play.
And this announcer's like, "What the fuck does that mean?"
Yeah.
And so we get the big reveal. Andi is actually short for Andrea. I can't fucking say this girl's name.
Andrea.
Well,
Andrea.
we call it Andrea.
Andrea.
Or
Oh, you're doing like
Andrea,
a Latin.
or
Andrea.
Andrea, and then there's Andrea. There it is. I had to like think it
She's
through.
Andrea.
She's
It's
Andrea.
Andy.
She's
Yeah.
Andrea.
Andrea.
And it's very hard. It's very hard. Anyways,
They reveal she's Andrea.
they reveal that she's her.
Art Henderson. Now you got me. Art Henderson.
My bad.
Art Henderson is like they go, she's a girl, she can't race.
And Mama, we
Yep.
had a reveal early
Yeah.
on where Mom was reading. She said, "I got to read my book," and it shows that she's actually reading the rule book, and she pulls it out conveniently right as Art's going off about there's got to be something in the rules that a girl can't race, and she's like, "There's actually nothing in the rules. I've read it twice."
Yeah.
And you mentioned the announcer was pretty cool for this. He was like, "All right, whatever."
He's like, all right. Well, then he's like, well, there's got to be something there about an unregistered racer. And he's like, nope, were you registered under Andi, which is her short for her name.
Andrea.
So she's fine. And then, and again, the announcer is great. He's like, all right, well, that settles that. How you feel about winning?
Yeah. Yes. Immediately turns over and he's like, well, does this, and then he goes, does this affect the Rollins sponsorship? And Bob Arnis, who is the company representative, starts to speak up and is stopped
Yep.
by,
Barbara Rollins? Is it Barbara?
her name is Barbara Rollins. She is the senior VP, vice president in charge of racing. Her name as a real person is Aloma Wright. We know her as Laverne in Scrubs
Oh, okay.
and Gretchen in Suits. She has had many other roles, but those are the two that I know her from.
Gotcha.
She comes out. She says, "Of course." She goes,
She has. This reminds me of the classic trailer and end of Mulan, where she's like, "You stole your father's armor."
You stole
Stole
your
his horse.
brother's bike. You hid your identity to race in order to help out her family, and she came on top as a woman in a man's sport. And like she's saying this very straight face. So you're like, when I first watched this,
Right.
I was very I was like, where are we going, Miss Ma'am?
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
no way you're about to like say no. But I questioned. I did question. And she says, there's no way she's gonna be wearing anything but our stuff.
Yeah.
And she says it just like that. So you're like, oh, there's no
Yay.
way she's not going to be wearing anything but. All right, cool.
And Carson Racing will receive a full Phil Rollins
Full
sponsorship.
sponsorship.
Yeah. But Dean is pissed. The sad part of
Oh
this
yeah. In the reveal, he gets really upset.
is he's like, oh.
You're a
I-
girl?
I was like, I'm gay? I'm not gay? It's like he was upset, you know?
He was upset that he wasn't gay.
Yeah, he's like, I'm
straight.
What's got? It's got to be a confusing situation.
It is.
Who knows what's going through that poor dude's head?
He'd be going through it.
Yeah, she knows what she just wants him.
Right.
You know, but he's got to be like, what am I
attracted to here, man? Both. Just say both, and it's good. It's cool, boo.
Mask
it's cool.
girls, call it that. That's fine. It counts. Muscle mommies, right? That's what
there's a Venn diagram in the middle. He stalks off. We don't see him.
Yeah, we don't get an immediate resolution of that.
She goes home happy with her family, and
they're
Mom,
in the garage.
They're in the garage. Mom comes in to say that
the budget came in.
The budget came in, and they are approved to hire a 250 rider. And there's an applicant at the front door.
And they go outside. She goes outside. She finds Dean, and he's like, "Hey, heard you're looking for a 250 rider." And she's like, "You any good?"
She's like, "Yeah." She's
they have
like,
a little
"You
flirt.
still have to interview."
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, "Okay."
You serious? Come
like,
on, girl.
She's like, and she said,
"He's got Riz now."
Yeah, now. And she goes, "Yeah, you." She said, "If you, we'll
do
race.
12 laps."
Yeah, whatever.
12 laps and you beat me. It's yours.
If you beat me, you get the spot.
12 laps, huh? All right.
And then
no, he does like, all right.
I bet.
He's like, all right. And then we end on a freeze frame of them like going over a hill together, doing like a whatever
fly.
little pose. Yeah, which we said too. This is the only one of these that actually like ends like a proper movie.
Right.
The rest of them are just like, and then the plot is resolved. Let's go get cappuccinos, and it's over.
And then just run off.
Run credits. Yeah, it's very sudden and abrupt. This one, which I think, again, just like it's why this one feels the most complete to me, is that it has a proper little epilogue. Like, it doesn't just end with her, she wins the race and she kisses the boy and that's it. Mm-hmm. If there's a proper epilogue where it's like, oh, and that last little plot thread we left dangling, it's resolved, it's cute, it's quick. That isn't even dragged out. You know what I mean? That's why, like, I don't even mind if they don't, like, have a kiss, because, like, they've already established that, like, the racing is the bond there.
Racing is the bond, but also racing is the love.
Yeah, and so we ends with them doing that.
Oh, I guess bond, love, whatever.
Yeah, so we get it. It's all just very mature. It's very succinct, and it ends properly. I don't know. Like I said, this one just feels the most complete and mature to me. A few slip-ups here and there. With, like, I think Dad needed a bit of more of a backstory. The Renee stuff is a smidge heavier-handed than it needs to be.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't like this.
But it gets its point across efficiently.
Yeah, but so I don't know. I like this one more than I thought I would, and I'm kind of sad I don't have more critiques to say about it, because I like to accentuate the negative. But I don't know. I'm feeling pretty positive about this one.
Yeah.
So let's do our ratings.
All right, so plot.
I'm going to give, I don't know, I'll do a 4.
Yeah.
I'll do like a 3.54 around there.
I'm sitting at a solid 4.
Yeah, like it's pretty straightforward. It's not super complex.
It's Renee's little over-the-topness that docks it for me. Dad's over-the-topness that docks it for me.
Yeah, it's that third act. Mm-hmm. That third act is a little weaker than the rest of it, but that first act is nice and tight. Just a solid setup. Second act, really fun, great character stuff with Mom,
right?
The brothers, and Andi and Dean. And
the family saves this one in a way that like if this were written with just her on her own trying to do this, it's not quite as solid.
Yeah.
As
well, it would be like we said. It would be like a lot heavier girl powery.
Right.
It'd be like, oh, she's a strong female character. And she doesn't need help from it, you know what I mean? But it's the fact that it is the family wins.
And it's very cool that mom and daughter get like this very cool bonding trip, with that first heat.
They're the main characters.
Yes.
And it feels really natural how they become the main characters.
Right.
What do we have? Production?
Yeah.
How you feeling?
I'm giving this one like a 4.5 because the music's good.
Yeah.
I know I said I disagreed at first. But I do tend to agree with you that knowing the whole track would have been cool. Mm-hmm. There were so many more better shots that one could have done there. There's definitely more because we only have like the one training session, and maybe that's all she needed. But if we'd have had a little bit more in depth on that, a little bit more in depth, like just shots of the training and like what, like give me different, like show me the gravel, show me the river rock, show me whatever that she's going over.
Yeah.
Show her like overcorrecting or just correcting on that kind of terrain, because you get him explaining it, but without him explaining it, you have no idea what they're doing.
You don't really get. You still don't really see. I feel like that gets too technical for what it is.
Yeah.
When it's really more of just like, it's a nice little feminist movie. We don't.
Music's good though, so
love the music.
It's solid there. The house and all the
outdoor
other
sets. It all feels real.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Like it's definitely like the locations they've got.
That's definitely a house in Texas somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. They get did they get that down country?
Yeah.
Like kind of Midwestish vibe.
Yeah.
Pretty well. Yeah. I would give it like 3.54. Purely because I would like the races to be shot in a little bit more of a dynamic way where I can just follow the action a little bit more. But
we could have had a little bit more from the other racers as well. It could have been a little bit more robust.
Sure. I would have liked some more POV shots and stuff. But like you're saying, music is good. The settings are good. The staging is good. Costuming is really good. Like that's all real gear.
Yeah.
And stuff and real bikes. You know, that's
well, and you've got a lot of branding
it's
there.
It's branded, like so you know it's the real deal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like that goes a long way to just sell the feel of this one as being like again just very grounded compared to the. I think also too we should talk about the other two, the ones we did, magic and shit.
Yeah.
You know, very fantastical. So I like that we kind of end on like this is just
a realist.
A realistic kind of take.
And then performance.
Ooh. They're all pretty good in this one.
I'm going 5 purely because I'm going to tell you my over-the-top ones. Jimmy.
Okay.
Dad sucking, I think, has way more to do with this
it's more the writing. It's the plot
with
of Dad.
Carhart giving it his all. Timothy Carhart giving it his all. Mom is doing great things. Mary Margaret Humes. Brothers are doing good things. Renee. He sold that shit. He sold that shit. So did Dean.
Shitty as it was, he sold it.
Yeah, Riley Smith, who played Dean, great.
Yeah.
And of course, Alana Austin, who played Andi.
I'd give it a 4. I think Renee's a little over the top. I think Dad's a little over the top. I think Dad comes back around to being good.
But is that the writing?
It's more the writing than it is him. But I think he could have done a better job of selling beyond the writing. It's like, you know, like Frank Langella. Now you see it where it's just like this is a better actor than this script is.
Yeah,
you know
that's true.
So, but the mom and the main cast, like the family and Dean, all really great. All have really natural chemistry. I think it's also just because Dad's not in it as much. I think if he was in it more in that act 2, then like maybe we could have we've seen more of that chemistry develop and stuff. Yeah. But as it is, like the ones that we spend the most time with,
good.
All very good.
And then even Jimmy, who shows up for the one
again,
scene.
I get like the most Disney Channel-ish scene, but like dude knows the assignment.
Yeah.
And just was like, I'm the comic relief. I'm here for this one. Like, we got the boots, bro.
Yeah.
You know, we got it. So
my driving glasses.
Maybe I'll hop in there, fellas.
Yeah.
So
good vibes.
It's good. I like this one.
I like this one a lot.
I'm glad you did, having not seen it and stuff.
Well, this arc I liked more than I thought I was gonna, because I was like, oh, it's just gonna feel kind of silly. It's gonna feel youngish. It's just gonna be a return to the inner child.
Like, a girl does boy sport. You know.
Well, I thought the whole series was gonna be that way, and then specifically this one, I was like, oh, it's just gonna be a girl and a boy sport. I was pleasantly surprised. I thought too, especially with the way that I knew that it was gonna be a 12th Night adaptation. I was thinking that this would be more like the more on the nose adaptation.
Do you want to just say it?
Yeah, she's the man.
She's the man.
And at first, I thought that watching it in the beginning, especially with the doe-eyed thing that Alana Austin has going on, it's very Amanda Bynes-y. But this one held its own, especially knowing that, one, it came before, but 2, having seen it after seeing She's the Man multiple times, very different adaptation. and
Yeah.
it held it definitely
It
did.
stands on its own as an adaptation.
Right. And then
Yeah.
just as somebody who was loosely interested in motocross growing up,
Sure.
you know, or just in racing in general, I loved engines. I still do. That's really cool. Like it was just a really cool concept to see. It was it was enough for me to be like, yeah, I know, but it wasn't so technical that I was like, oh, I don't know what the fuck he's talking about.
Right.
There were some things where I was like, oh.
Yeah. That's for me. It's like the characters overpower any confusion that I could have would have had. Yeah. And
But
I
it didn't take itself so seriously that you needed to know the technical.
No, I like that. I like that it like indulges in itself and it being kind of funny and it being kind of cutesy and it having these like funny little lines, like the one where she's like, it's like, oh, that boy is so he's the cutest boy I've ever seen.
He's
Like,
so cute.
If I weren't the second cutest boy, I might actually have a
That
chance.
was funny.
You know, there's just such good writing in this that like again, I think that this one is just. It feels like more than a Disney Channel original movie to me.
If you had just shown me this movie.
It feels like a normal TV movie.
Yeah.
Like not even better than like a Hallmark.
Very early Warner Brothers, early 2000s. Like,
Yeah.
You could have put anybody's like production logo on that, and I would have believed you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it doesn't, which is kind of a weird way to end this series, I guess, on one that doesn't feel super.
But that's what we were supposed to be
branded.
graduating.
You're
to
right, yeah.
With Disney Channel original
That's
movies.
true. That is a good way to end this one. Is that this, as we've kind of matured through these movies, I think we have created a bit of a mountain, I guess, through these 3 episodes that we've climbed, where we've ended on one that does feel very mature, does feel very complete, and does feel a little less branded than the other ones, despite having a lot of brands.
A lot
in
of branding. Yes.
I wanted to splice this into the middle of the episode because I didn't get to do it. I'm recording this like a week later or a couple days later.
It's literally just 2 days.
It's 2 days later, and I didn't say it. I said I was going to do it at the top of the episode. I didn't do it. I want to do it one last time as we close out the Disney Channel Original Summer. Thank you. All right, I did it. Now I did it. I'm betting things back in. Back to the regularly scheduled episode. Let's drop our socials because maybe we should do that for each of our little trilogies here.
Yeah, for Instagram, we're at Podcast of Critics.
On Twitter, we're just at Cast of Critics, and we're also on TikTok now for all of the Zoomers at Podcast of Critics 1, because that's all we could get. But we're there. We're uploading little clips, little excerpts from each of the episodes in there as we make the episodes, and maybe we'll throw some other content on there.
Yeah, and if you're trying to find Ashley or Garrett, I don't know why I spoke about myself in the third person. That was awful. I'm so sorry. I swear that's not who I am as a person.
Yeah.
We are tagged in each of our
Yes.
Instagram.
Yeah, follow us because I post Legos and shit. Nothing too interesting.
I post mostly gay shit.
Nice. Yeah, like this movie. But we're the next movies that we're doing. I'm going to leave a hint here. Isn't gay, nor is it really straight, but it's a little twisted. And I'll leave it on that hint. And
We'll be seeing you real soon.
we'll be seeing you real soon.
This has been Ashley.
This has been Garrett.
We are the Podcast of Critics.
Bye-bye.
Good night.